On Gallup, here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF, unicefusa.org/action.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton's here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian is here with us today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Okay, so today, one of the weirder press. By the way, I'm hearing like a little bit of an echo. Are you hearing that, Ian?
No, not yet.
Okay, good. All that matters is what he's hearing. Doesn't matter what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
So
for what it's worth.
The Preds had a press availability today with Governor Bill Haslam, Chairman Owner Herb Fritch, and Sean Henry and David Poyle were also there. We got tons of stuff to get to from that. It was one of the weirder things I've ever been to in my life, where there were just four corners. It almost felt like media day at the All-Star game, where guys like just sit there and it's like you go from guy to guy to guy. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, let's sit down over here with LeBron and then, try to get over there and ask a couple questions to Kobe. And those guys have to sit there for an hour. This is in the NBA All-Star Media Day. They have to sit there for an hour and people just come through and just ask them questions. It's a very weird thing. I've never experienced anything like this. I don't know why they just didn't talk, but that's fine. So as soon as they walked in the room, they announced that none of this stuff with Haslam buying the team has gone pen to paper, so that's not official, whatever, and that Haslam would be in this corner, and Sean and David would be over here, and Herb Fritch would be over there. Well, I walked right to the Herb Fritch corner because I got one question. The general manager, right?
Fair. It's a question that we've been asking on the show several times.
I asked Herb Fritch a bunch of other questions, and we will get to those, about why to sell the team, why not just sell the team to Governor Haslam, those kind of questions. But I wanted to make sure to ask about David Poyle. Now, let me say this. I had never met Herb Fritch until today. I like Herb Fritch. In fact, I like Herb Fritch a lot. I mean, I'd say I probably talked to him for a total of 10 minutes. And he really is a regular dude who happens to be a billionaire. But, I mean, we were talking about this off the air, about how no matter what decision Herb Fritch makes, as far as the team is concerned, I'm never going to be mad at Herb Fritch because at the end of the day, he really ponied up the money in order to save the hockey team. So no matter how many things I can get worked up about with Herb Fritch doing or the team doing or whatever, don't like this player, don't like that trade, don't like that draft pick, don't whatever, no matter how mad you can get, we wouldn't have a team if they hadn't kept the team here. And I remember that. So I'm always grateful for that. I like Herb Fritch. But I asked Herb about David Poyle because I think this is the number one thing that all the hockey fans really care about. And this is what Herb Fritch said.
David said at his end-of-the-year press conference that he's got the full support of ownership. Fans obviously want to see success. What is it about David that you believe in to keep him in that position?
Well, he's certainly got the track record. He's a known quantity. He's been doing this. He's won more games than any other GM in history. We're executives. I've got a lot of expertise in healthcare. If you ask me a healthcare question, I'll tell you what to do, but I understand what I don't know about hockey and the ins and outs and long-term contracts and player assessments. And yeah, you have opinions as fans, but it's become particularly important in this situation where we've got 10 families with an ownership stake and 17 individuals that attend our ownership meetings. Everyone has opinions. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't hire any of them, with all due respect, to be my general manager. I mean, we've come to appreciate that while we all have opinions, David's the hockey expert in the room, and I want him to hear our opinions. But at the end of the day, he's got to make those calls, and he's got to make those decisions. And it's not something that we should be doing, or even if we could.
There you go. So basically, Herb Fritch says David's got a track record. David's won the most games in the history of the NHL. We have a whole ownership group here, and everybody's got an opinion on what the team should do, but that David is the hockey expert. That was the line that stood out to me. And he would later go on, Ian, I'm sorry, I should have told you about this, that the direction of the team, the support of the ownership, Herb did go on to say that David, in fact, has the full support of that ownership group. Here's what Herb Fritch said.
I mean, we talked to David, and you can assume that he does have the support of the direction. So it's not like we don't talk to him about what he's planning to do and stuff, but I think it'd be inappropriate for us to be out there being the face of what's the hockey decisions and which guys should we sign and stuff. I mean, that's really David's arena, and I'm happy to have him be the spokesperson for the team in that regard.
Okay, there you go. Here's my question, and this is for you. 615-737-1025. How does that make you feel? Because the reality is Herb Fritch thinks David's doing a good job. And when he says David's the hockey expert, that leads me to believe that they look at it as, look, we are a bunch of people that have money that really just got together to keep this franchise from moving to Waterloo, Ontario, or wherever it was going to move to. We got together to try to do this. We're going to try to do this the right way, but we don't know anything about hockey. Do you know anything about hockey? Nope, don't know anything about hockey. Okay, well, I don't know anything about hockey either. What about you? Do you know anything about it? Nope, don't know anything about hockey. Well, this guy's been doing it for 50 years, and he's in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame, and everybody at the NHL says that he knows exactly what he's doing about hockey, so he's the hockey expert, and that whenever the team doesn't win, the reaction is, okay, let's ask our hockey expert what we need to do to win, not let's be critical of our hockey expert. Again, that's how I interpreted it. You can interpret it however you want. My question for the fans is, how does this make you feel? Because I will say that I really believe David's probably the general manager for the next 3 years after hearing that. You got big ownership group. Herb's the majority owner. Herb's the majority owner for the next 3 years. Herb likes David. He told you right there. He's got the track record. He's done it. He's been the general manager. He's done it for a long time. He's got the all-time wins record. He's the expert. We ask him about his opinions. We talk with him about his opinions. But at the end of the day, it's his ship, and he makes those calls, and he makes those decisions. This is what I would say. I disagree. Obviously, I disagree. But that's how I disagree. And there's nothing that's going to happen other than me just saying that I disagree, because just because I disagree with the team doesn't mean that the team is going to sit there and say, oh, well, Jared said that he doesn't think David Poyle's doing that good of a job, so that's why. But Adam Vingan wrote the article after they lost, which was they need to hear from ownership. The fans need to hear from ownership that Herb Fritch, who nobody had ever talked to about this kind of stuff on record, needed to talk about it. I asked it. There was the answer. And again, my question is really for you all, you the fans. How does that make you feel? When you heard it, not what word of that did you hear. When you heard it, what was your reaction to it? And again, I'll play it again for you because this is the chairman of the Predators who is essentially giving not just a vote of confidence to the general manager, but an extreme vote of confidence to the general manager. This was Herb Fritch today. If we got that first one. Okay, I screwed that up. I put Ian on the spot there. But I do want you to hear it again, just in case you didn't totally hear it the first time. I do want you to hear it again because my question is for the fans today about how they feel about this. And honestly, like I tweeted out kind of the cliff notes of what Herb Fritch said, and there wasn't a lot of reaction to it, which makes me wonder if the fans are okay with it. But this is, if we have it, this is what Herb said again on David Poyle.
David said at his end-of-the-year press conference that he's got the full support of ownership. Fans obviously want to see success. What is it about David that you believe in to keep him in that position?
Well, he's certainly got the track record. He's a known quantity. He's been doing this. He's won more games than any other GM in history. We're executives. I've got a lot of expertise in healthcare. If you ask me a healthcare question, I'll tell you what to do, but I understand what I don't know about hockey and the ins and outs and long-term contracts and player assessments. And yeah, you have opinions as fans, but it's become particularly important in this situation where we've got 10 families with an ownership stake and 17 individuals that attend our ownership meetings. Everyone has opinions. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't hire any of them, with all due respect, to be my general manager. I mean, we've come to appreciate that while we all have opinions, David's the hockey expert in the room. And I want him to hear our opinions. But at the end of the day, he's got to make those calls, and he's got to make those decisions. And it's not something that we should be doing, or even if we could.
He's got to make those calls. He's got to make those decisions. What that told me was when Adam Vingan wrote a couple of months ago that David Poyle probably has the job security of a Supreme Court justice, I maybe I didn't believe it because I didn't want to believe it, but he was probably right. And Herb's behind David 100%. And I'll give Herb credit because he is freaking loyal if he feels that way about David. But the question is, how do you feel? Because it's your team. It's not my team. It's Herb's team. It's your team. You all are the fans that support it. You all are the fans that watch it. You all are the fans that care about it. And if you guys don't care about what Herb Fritch said and you say, well, you know what, that is also a feeling too. So now that you've heard what the owner has to say about the general manager, how do you feel? 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Now, Herb Fritch was asked about the ownership group, and if that may be a reason why David is kind of entrenched in this position. We'll get to that next, but we are to you as soon as you load them up because I want to know how you all feel about that. 615-737-1025, Stillman & Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn him loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
At Kubota, We want to help you deliver a job done right. That's why they want you to know that the new Kubota inventory is arriving daily. You have work to do. We have the reliable, durable, and versatile lineup to help you do it. Visit Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota today for all your equipment needs. 2 locations to serve you, Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota. Visit us online at columbiakubota.com or franklinkubota.com.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
It's on, it's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Is some of that, too, the fact that there is such a large ownership group, and you feel as though if you're coming out and speaking, you're speaking for more than just yourself, I guess you would say?
Yeah, I don't know. It is just a personal opinion. I guess the guy, just to pick one, if it's a Jerry Jones type situation, you know, I mean, from my view as a fan, it looks like he's making all the decisions.
Right.
And maybe he's more qualified than we are, but I don't think that should be our role.
I actually thought that was a pretty good line from Herb Fridge when asked by Gentry. You know, does it make it harder?
Jokes.
Does it make it harder? And it's like, well, I mean, it could be like Jerry Jones, but I don't think that's a very good idea. I'm like, you know, there's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, touche.
Now, look, the Predators are not the only ownership group in the history of pro sports. In fact, they're not the only ownership group in the city right now. The Titans are owned by more than one person. Mm-hmm. In fact, I still believe that they're owned by Tommy Smith and his wife. And obviously you weren't here when this all happened, but when Bud Adams died, Tommy Smith was left in charge of the team, and he was freaking terrible at running it. And so within a year, they got him out. They got Amy in. And so Amy still owns her third, and Tommy Smith's wife, Susie, I think is her name, she owns a third, and then the kids of the son who died, they own a third. So there's a whole ownership group that surrounds the Titans too. This isn't The Predators are what I mean. There are more ownership groups in pro sports than there are individual owners who own everything. But Herb Fritch made it clear today that he supports David Poile, that he looks at the track record of David Poile, which is really glass half full or glass half empty, because glass half full could be, look, David's done this for forever. The team's made the playoffs 8 years in a row. The Nashville Predators for years operated with an arm time behind their back, and Barry Trotz and David Poile made it work. This team got to a Stanley Cup final. This team won a President's Trophy. This team made the playoffs last year. They made the playoffs for 8 years in a row. David's got the all-time record for most wins as a general manager in the history of the NHL. You can make that argument. You can also make the argument that the team has not gotten out of the first round in the last 4 years. Yeah, that's right, 4 years. They haven't gotten out of the first round in 4 years. You can kind of look at the team and say there's no way they're competing with those teams that were playing last night. You can look at the fact that in 50 years of doing this, David Poile has never once won the Stanley Cup. You can look at it however you'd like to look at it. And clearly he looks at it glass half full, and I look at it as glass half empty. But my question is about you, the fans. And so let's get right to your reaction. Again, that number 615-737-1025. How do you feel about what I think I dreaded as a reality that I now have come to grips with, which is I think David Poile might be unfireable. How do you feel? Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com.
One texter texts in and says, David Poile screwed the Predators when he wasn't forward-thinking enough to realize that Colorado was the future of the division and not Winnipeg. No one in ownership cared enough to say something then, and the majority owner is smart enough to get out now while the money is high and the team is on a downward trend.
So I don't think that's why he's getting out. I mean, now we can get to the when I asked him earlier today about, why get out. In fact, I'll tell you what he told me. The reason why he's getting out is because he's looking at his age and was thinking about what's the future of the Predators past me. And he brought up Eugene Melnick, who was the owner of Ottawa, who just recently passed away, and about not wanting an estate and, a lawyer, to be the one in charge of the Predators throughout this thing, and a probate court or whatever it would be. That he wants the Predators in the right hands. That's why he is, selling the team to Bill Haslam. And I asked him, too, about why not just sell him the team now. And he was like, well, I felt comfortable with the process. I actually would have rather had this been longer, for me to run it. But Bill wanted it sooner, so we compromised on the 3 years, which basically told me that I'd still like to run the team right now. Or not run the team, but I'd still like to own the team right now. Mm-hmm. But I'd rather own it for 5 years, but he wanted to do 3. So, to make sure that the team's in the right hands, that's why I did it with him. And so that's what he said about that. Herb Fritch isn't getting out because he thinks the money's going to go down. Hell, the money for sports, you can suck, and the money for sports is going up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could be the Pittsburgh freaking Pirates, and it doesn't matter. Like, that franchise is worth a boatload. And so it's not like Herb Fritch is taking the money to go add to his pile of cash to go buy things. He got all the money now. Buy whatever he wants. So I don't think that's why. And I don't think Poile screwed the Predators. I just don't think he's very good anymore at what he does. That's all I think. And I would just say I'd rather get somebody else in there. When Herb Fritch says, well, I'm a healthcare guy. And I'll say this, I'm not a football expert. I'm not a hockey expert. I'm not a basketball expert. I know how to do talk radio. That's what I know how to do. And so I think everybody that has a certain profession probably knows internally, like, hey, I know how to do this. And then they sometimes probably think they know how to do other things that they have no idea how to do. Now, I'm not going to sit there and tell you can't send me to Serbia and have me go scout out 16-year-olds and tell you who can play in the NHL and who can't. But I do believe that at some point with anything, if you kept going to the same doctor over and over again because you had this pain in your elbow and your elbow pain never went away, even though the doctor's the expert and you're not, at some point you would probably go to another doctor. There are other doctors who are out there. In the case of general manager, there are other hockey executives around the league that you could hire to run your team. Barry Trotz. But I believe that Herb, and you heard the clip, you all heard Herb thinks David's doing a good job. And that's... Now, the other thing I will say is, what is he going to say? You know, is Herb going to sit
He's
there
not going to throw him under the bus.
Is he going to sit there and say? But then again, Robert Kraft did put Belichick on notice. So make of it what you will.
I think that ownership is a spectrum. You can go from completely hands-off to hands-on. I'm a fan of, or that I cover. I appreciate the fact that Predators ownership isn't all over the hockey operation side of things because, like Herb Fritch said, look, I know what I know and I don't know hockey, which I appreciate. But I think on the spectrum of ownership involvement, I almost wish that the Predators' ownership was a little bit more involved in this instance because I understand wanting to be hands-off and say, hey, we hired you to do hockey things, go do hockey things. That's important. But it's almost like you need the ownership to be a little bit more involved to be able to say, whoa, pump the brakes. We need to make a change here. Maybe need to be a little bit more involved in the hockey operation side to be able to recognize things aren't going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, Governor Haslam, what's his knowledge?
He's
of
no hockey
owning a
expert
hockey
either,
team
no.
So was you selling the team to him? Because you know that he knows management. Well, I got to believe that Herb Fritch knows management.
Of course.
He knows effective. I'm sure there are people that worked for him in healthcare that he didn't exactly know what they did, but he knew if they were effective or not effective or whatever. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is the nice way to do this, is I believe in David 100%. But there comes a time where I think either you believe somebody or you just know that, hey, they're just saying what they have to say. And this is just my opinion. I believe Herb. I think Herb believes in David that much. I think Herb thinks that David is an elite general manager in the NHL. Now, he didn't say that, but I think it was kind of implied. You figure?
Elite, I'm not going to imply, but he believes in David.
Oh, I think he thinks David is a great general manager. Like that, you know, David's doing a great job.
Well, he cited that he's the winningest general manager in hockey.
Said that
he does believe in him, yes.
And I think he does. And that's where I say I disagree. What else we got?
Alex texts in and says, so how would firing Poyle go? Do all of the owners have to agree?
No. If Herb Fritch decides to fire David Poyle, then David Poyle gets fired. Herb Fritch is the governor of the Nashville Predators, which is the official title of, you know, the guy who is in charge at the NHL level. That is why the meeting is called the Board of Governors. Now, there are alternate governors who can vote in your place, but governor is the title of this one person is the most important person in this organization. It is the same as controlling owner in the NFL. The Titans have an ownership group too. Amy makes the decisions. That's how it works. Because that's who the league looks to when it is, we're voting for this TV package, which, by the way, they should go back and they should give the primary package to TNT and they should take it away from ABC and ESPN because ABC and ESPN's broadcasts of the NHL absolutely stink in comparison to TNT, which is so appalling that in both basketball and hockey that they have the rights over TNT, and TNT does a 5 million times better job doing basketball and hockey. Did you watch into the game last night?
Yeah, I did.
Puck goes in the net, and all of a sudden they're jumping up and down, and the announcers have no clue what's going on. And then Ray Ferraro's just like, I think that puck went in the net. I think Colorado's going to win. And so I'm like, for the love of God, show the replay. Let's go. And so finally, when they show the replay, you see the puck hit the net. But by then you already knew because Colorado's coaches were shaking hands. And not once did they bring up the too many men on the ice. So now I'm getting all worked up. But again, when they vote on things like this, you get one vote. And so it's like, whose vote counts? It's like his vote counts. So if he wanted to get rid of David Poyle, he could get rid of David Poyle. What came out of today is he's not getting rid of David Poyle. So if you're somebody like me and you just cannot stand the way that this team has been operated, you know, as far as the hockey's concerned over the years, then you're going to have to suck it up and deal with it. And that's where I am. You know, I got to say, I'm not going to be, there was a basketball coach, an assistant coach at Belmont, who's now the head coach for women's basketball at UNLV named Lindy LaRocque. And Lindy LaRocque in 2017, 2016, moved to Nashville, I think in 2015 maybe, I can't remember. But she was in Nashville and she became a Predators fan. And then she's from Vegas and obviously is now the coach at UNLV. And Vegas got a hockey team. And I was like, don't be going to Vegas now, because she went to Stanford to be an assistant coach. And I said, don't go to Vegas now and all of a sudden start rooting for that team since that's your hometown team, because you're a Predators fan first. And she was like, oh, no, I promise I won't go there and start rooting for them. And so, of course, they make the Stanley Cup the first year, and she's all about the Vegas Golden Knights. And now she's, because she's the coach at UNLV, she's, ramping up the horn and everything else. And I look at what the Vegas Golden Knights do. And they won last year. They got to the NHL semifinal round, which was a COVID term. They got to essentially the conference final, and they fired Peter DeBoer and after this season because they didn't win. And they've traded for Jack Eichel, who has the potential to be an all-world superstar. And they've done, they hired Bruce Cassidy. They go outside the box. They are bold. They make the moves that I wish my team made. My team is not going to make those moves, and I'm just going to have to live with it. So I know the general manager has not won anything in 50 years of being the general manager. The head coach has not won anything in 7 seasons of coaching hockey, and everybody around here is just going to tell us how great they are, and at the end of the day, we're just going to have to suck it up. And that's what we're going to have. That's what I have accepted today. And it has taken me a long time to get to this level, but that's what I'm accepting today, that this is what we're going to have. We're going to just have to hope that David does a better job.
Is hope a strategy?
It's the only thing I got.
Well,
either that or wait 3 years. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Though there is one thing Herb said that maybe gives me a little hope, and then we're back to your phones on this. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus, Robbie's got a one-on-one with David Poyle coming tomorrow morning. Sat down with David for a little bit. We got a little snippet of that is some tea. So we will get into that at some point as well. 615-737-1025, Stillman & Company right here on 102.5 The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Nashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is a flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, this killer offer has been extended through July 2nd. Our most aggressive offer of the year continues, but won't be extended again. It's not just on engagement rings. It's earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 eternity band comes out to just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry is also included in this amazing offer. Now through July 2nd at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit.
Where will you be for the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway? The Tootsie's Infield Club will be the coolest spot in the house before and during the race. With the shaded seating, cold drinks, and live music, it's just like Broadway at the Speedway. You'll be close to the bar, the bathroom, and all the action in Turn 4. How do you get in? Add a fan walk or pre-race track access pass to your Ally 400 ticket purchase, and we'll see you at the Tootsie's Infield Club.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
It's the ultimate celebration of one of the greatest bands ever. The Nashville Symphony performs Winborn's The Music of Queen, featuring conductor Brent Havens and vocalist Justin Sargent. June 26th at Ascend Amphitheater. A night filled with the music of Queen, performed as you've never heard it before. Get tickets now at NashvilleSymphony.org. Visit WinbornMusic.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series against the Gwinnett Stripers. Swing and a missed strike three. Sounds win. Coverage begins at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Why a couple-year process? Why not just sell the majority stake now?
Well, there was no urgency. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm happy to be an owner of the Predators. I thought it would be nice to have a pretty smooth transition where I'm looking forward over the next 3 years to working with Bill and having him jointly make a lot of the decisions. So I didn't have any urgency. I actually, in my mind, my goal was to say over 4 or 5 years to do a phase transition. Part of the negotiations, Bill wanted to do it sooner than later, so I moved my time frame up and we compromised and said let's do it over 3 years, which is fine.
There you go. That was Herb Fritch, Predators chairman, earlier today. Did you notice the one thing in there that was important to me about what he just said about that whole transactional period with Governor Haslam?
What?
He said, I look forward to jointly making decisions with him.
That is key.
Governor Haslam.
We're making decisions together.
I didn't vote for you because I didn't live in Tennessee and I didn't vote when you were running for governor. So I guess I was one of your constituents, but I didn't vote for you again because when you were running for governor, I didn't live in Tennessee. But let me say this. Please analyze the hockey team fairly and the direction of it this season. And please, if you need any help, Governor Haslam, feel free to call. Sure, you can get my number if you really want it.
If he doesn't already have it.
Please.
I insist that you call me with questions.
Herb is all in, it sounds like. All in's probably strong. Herb fully supports David Poile. But if he's jointly making decisions with Governor Haslam, then maybe Governor Haslam can be the guy. And again, David's going to get one more crack at this at least, although I'm now pretty resigned to the fact that David's probably going to get 3 more cracks at this. But if David takes his team to the Cup final next year, then I'll be the first person to shut up. But not anticipating it. So maybe Governor Haslam is our hope.
And would we have any reason to believe that Governor Haslam wouldn't fully support David Poile?
Like right now?
When he's owner, majority owner, chairman, whatever word you want to use.
I don't think we have any reason to think that he wouldn't support him, but I don't think it'll be as... Governor Haslam's going to be an owner of a team like an owner of a team.
Yes.
Not like Herb. Not that I have any problem with how Herb's doing this. Because, again, as I said many times, he saved the team. Like, he and that group, and it's the whole group, even, David Freeman, it's the whole group. They saved the team, and Herb was a big part of that and a big spender on that. And I'm not going to knock the guy who's got a disagreement, or I disagree with the direction of the hockey team, and he feels a different way about the hockey team. I'm not going to get up and, all of a sudden not like the guy when the guy saved the team. And it's like Ian said when we were playing that clip coming back about how he was like, Herb seems like a nice enough guy. And I'll tell you this, I met Herb today. Probably chatted with him on the record and, just off the side a little bit, just chatting. Probably about a total of 10 minutes. I like the guy. I like him. I think he's a lot like you and me, except he just has a lot more money. And so I don't have any beef with it. But Governor Haslam did say something to Joe today where he said to Joe, he goes, "I'm the same guy who's reading your columns. I just don't comment on them," which tells me that I do think that Governor Haslam's
He's
in tune.
plugged in.
And if he's plugged in and he's seeing the team, and if he owns the team, maybe he'll see things the way that I see them. I guess that's my hope here. Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025.
One texter checks in and says, I think Preds fans don't know what they want. By all accounts, comparing this year to the strange COVID season, this team was much more competitive than the 2021 rendition that had to scratch and claw its way to get in a much weaker division. If we don't lose Saros and face Calgary, we aren't likely in as nihilistic of a mindset.
Yeah, but you did. And I know the whole idea of if they didn't lose Saros and if they didn't, you can do that all you want. I'm just telling you right now, who are the young players? Who are the young, exciting players that are going to come in here and turn this franchise around?
Alexander Carrier, all rookie team.
All rookie team, baby. All rookie team for Alexander Carrier. What am I even thinking? You know why they probably didn't give him the Norris for Yossi is they probably thought Carrier was doing too much. They were like, I mean, how can we give it to Yossi when he's got Carrier on his team?
All right.
He's just such a good player. I mean, my goodness gracious. There's not like really any young, exciting players. And the core players they have are good. Yossi's good. But you're almost expecting a repeat of career years from everybody to get into the exact same spot. And the coach wore the goalie down. And not only that, this coach does not have a track record of winning. I cannot state that enough. No matter how much people who cover this team try to tell you that he is a good coach, please know that nowhere in his resume does it have winning anywhere. I take that back. I wonder if I still have this in this pile of papers over here. He won a gold medal with the U18 U.S. junior team in 2004, I think.
That's something.
So there's your track record of winning, but that's it. And so to sit there and say that Preds fans don't know what they want, I don't know what Preds fans. I honestly don't know what Preds fans want. I mean, I know they want to win, but I don't know exactly, like, do they want a new general manager? Do they want a new coach? Do they like the coach? I mean, the Adam Vingan poll said 83% were not optimistic that David Poile could turn this thing around. To me, that's a pretty strong statement. If you've got 1,200 people and 83% of them.
87.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. 13 were the pro. 87%. 87. Oh, my goodness gracious. By the way, say goodbye to that stuff. We're not getting any more polls from the Athletic.
I'm really bummed about that.
You think they're going to replace Adam?
I hope so.
No.
I hope they would. But who can do Adam better than Adam can do Adam?
But they haven't replaced the Titans rider.
Joe.
He's not the Titans rider.
I know he's not.
So when they started this, they had a Vols rider, they had a Titans rider, they had a Preds rider, and they had a columnist, Joe. Now, they don't have a Vols rider, they don't have a Titans rider, they don't have a Preds rider.
They've got Joe, though.
But they've got Joe. What else we got?
Another texter says, Poile does need to go eventually since no one can consistently make great moves after 4 decades. But I do think he has brought a great core of prospects and talent, especially if and when Philip Forsberg resigns. He deserves at least one more chance this season to see his vision of a competitive rebuild through if Trotz can't come in with a bigger management role.
Okay. What do we think about that take? I'm against it because tell me these prospects that are going to change the world for the Predators.
That's the thing is when the texture says, he's brought in a great core of prospects. Who?
Well, Tomasino
Tolvanen?
is up there.
Tomasino, yes.
Luke Evangelista.
Maybe the goalie. Askarov.
Oh, because they don't have one of those. Play 2 goalies.
But other than that, I don't know if there's anyone that you could... A core of prospects, I don't think is the right word to use.
Janot, maybe? Technically, he was a rookie this year.
So you have...
We're trying.
They're not there. They don't have no talent. They don't have no young talent. I just don't think that it's enough young talent for fans, or at least myself, to look at and say, no, we're good. Wait a couple years. Wait for these guys to get a little bit more experience, and the Predators are money.
One guy who I would expect to be a top 6 forward, that's Tomasino. No top 4 defenseman in the pipeline. Like legitimate top 4 defenseman. I'm not talking about playing on your team, but just in general.
Maybe David Ferentz. Not for sure, though.
No. David Ferentz would have played a lot more this year if David Ferentz could play. I've talked to people off the record who are like, yeah, he can't play. So, no 0 on David Ferentz. So, I just don't see it. Now, the texter says Poile should get 1 more year. And the owner just kind of told us that he's getting 1 more year. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says Svechnikov, Evangelista, Tomasino, and Jeannot are several promising franchise-changing players, to name a few.
No, Tanner Jeannot is a bottom six forward. What are we doing here? Like, I like that style of play, and I think that you could put him up on a first line for a couple of years, but guys like that have limited shelf lives. Like, that is not a high, like, Tanner Jeannot is not an all-star, and he's not going to be an all-star. Tomasino, I mean, I hope that he can one day be that level of player, but I'm not buying it. Now, the other guys, you'll have to do the Preds prospects on your own time about Evangelista. But, or what's the other one? Afanasyev or whatever.
Afanasyev.
Yeah,
him.
He's kind of stalled out a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, you got to do the Preds prospects on your own time. I've heard enough about Dante Fabro, and I've heard enough about Ellie Tolvanen.
You didn't mention Cody Glass.
Oh, God. Cody Glass.
Don't get him started on Cody Glass.
No more bad players. Yeah, I am done with the bad players. I'm done with people taking a bad player, putting the bad player on the Predators, and then telling me that I'm supposed to believe that the bad player, even though he's been bad, is not going to be bad anymore.
That's fair.
But they've done that too often lately. The latest being Jeremy Lauzon, who we have not mentioned as a core foundational piece of this team.
But if Jeremy Lauzon is a core foundational piece of this team, and this team is in much more trouble than we thought.
Well, that's just what everybody tells me is that, oh, no, he's only 25. You watch. You watch.
Maybe.
That's what I'm told.
But is the second-round pick worth you watch?
If I said yes, would you believe that I was telling you the truth?
No.
I don't think a second-round pick is worth a guy who is not very good. Because, again, I'm out of the business of getting bad players. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, there was a monumental story in football that we have got to get to, and we will get to this next. And I do buy the implications that are coming with this. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Super Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. Forecast today still hot, but not as hot. Yesterday, record-breaking heat at 101 degrees in Nashville. Today, high temperature right near 94. Low humidity, tons of sunshine, but also a very high UV index.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Callaway Trade-In Trade-Up event happening now through July 4th. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% trade-in bonus towards new Rogue ST Woods and Irons and Apex Irons. Both the Rogue and Apex families are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get your 50% bonus trade-in on Callaway Rogue ST and Apex Irons today. And while you're there, get custom fit for free. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home with a 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Rob tried to manage his constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating day after day. After realizing it was irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, he found another way and finally said yes to adding Linzess.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donning.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
But overall, 5-7 last year, Pete. And so how quickly can someone like Arch Manning turn things around?
Well, it'll be interesting, Sage. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up redshirting. Remember, Eli Manning redshirted when he went to Ole Miss. Texas has a loaded quarterback room right now when you have Quinn Ewers, who was the number one quarterback prospect who transferred from Ohio State after last season. They also have Hudson Card and Malik Murphy, who are both high-end quarterbacks. So it will be one of the stiffest competitions. Obviously, the chips are going to fall how they do with those battles. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arch Manning went there. The Mannings aren't going to be in a rush because development doesn't always equate to playing right away. So, again, there's a long way from now until he arrives there, and that quarterback room could end up changing a lot. But his impact on the field may not be day one immediate because of the competition that he's going to face upon arrival there. It is a excellent high-end quarterback room.
There you go. That was Pete Thamel on ESPN with the big news of the day. Arch Manning, so that's Cooper's son. Arch Manning has committed to the University of Texas. He is the number one quarterback recruit. I believe he's the number one overall recruit, right?
Yeah.
He's the number one overall football recruit in the class of 2023.
Consensus 5-star.
And remember the fact that normally a kid commits, but then you never know until he actually signs. If Arch says he's going to Texas, because I know the Mannings, if Arch says he's going to Texas,
he's going to Texas.
He's going to Texas. So this leads to the question. Kick it around the room. Caroline, Ian, are the Longhorns back?
No.
Ian, are the Longhorns back?
Back as in good old glory days, back to the top?
Yes, back.
It's going to take a little bit, although maybe Sark is onto something here. Maybe he's got a little bit extra pull with the offensive talent. I'm not all the way back, but maybe...
He's been a recruiting maniac.
Maybe just like half the mountain.
If you talk to some of the people that work here, you'll know that Sark apparently has just been a maniac, period, not just in recruiting. But
I don't need to talk to people that work here. I think I can talk to just about anyone who has watched it down to college football to know that he is a maniac, period. But it has been a recruiting maniac.
There's a good man behind the scenes that works here that has some
tea. UT.
Let me say this. I think the Longhorns are back. They're back. I believe that they will make the college football playoff with Arch Manning as their quarterback.
Why?
Because Arch Manning, I think, is going to be that good. Because what have I always said about all these new coaches that take these new jobs, and it's like, this guy, we're going to bring the tradition back to this school. Every time I'm like, you have to find your great quarterback. Every coach. You can like what Josh Heupel's done so far, but if Nico Amalavea, I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
Amalavea?
If Nico Amalavea ain't that dude, then Josh Heupel ain't that dude either. You got to find that guy. I've always said it's the college football version of the franchise quarterback. You got to find that guy, and that guy can make you. That guy can make you and take you to the top. Marcus Mariota took the Oregon Ducks to the national championship game. And Oregon has been an average football team since the day he left. Jameis Winston made Jimbo Fisher a national champion. Teddy Bridgewater made Charlie Strong the hottest coaching commodity in all of college football. You got to have that franchise quarterback. That's the key. Arch is that dude. If I had to bet, and you know I don't get into college football recruiting, but for every great quarterback that develops as a 5-star that becomes Matthew Stafford, the story I always tell is the SEC when I was in high school. In 2006, I believe it might have been 2005, whichever graduating year, there were 3 quarterbacks in the SEC that were supposed to be the future of college football. There was Matthew Stafford at Georgia, there was Tim Tebow at Florida, and there was Mitch Mustaine at Arkansas.
I don't know who that is.
Now, he did technically change college football because his head coach, Gus Malzahn, came to be the offensive coordinator, and that's how Gus Malzahn got into college football. But, again, for every quarterback who's going to change the game, there's always a Mitch Mustaine. There's always that guy who 5-star can't miss and ends up missing. And so, with all these high school guys, I have no idea if Nico Amalave is any good. I'm just going to tell you, I believe that Arch Manning is going to be good.
Is it because his last name is Manning?
Well, he's got the genetics of a Manning.
Well, yes.
And so that's important. And he's probably, I would assume, he's got the maturity of the Mannings because the apple does not fall far from the tree.
No, the Mannings are very tailored.
And I think, again, now this is a total guess. My gut is cerebrally, he's probably somewhere in between Peyton and Eli, which is quite the spectrum.
Did you just call Eli dumb?
No, I did not. But he ain't
I
Peyton.
think you implied it.
But he ain't Peyton. I think the Longhorns will make the college football playoff with Arch Manning as their quarterback. And to what Pete Thamel said right there, which I didn't even think about, is the idea that the Mannings would probably be okay with redshirting him. Like, the Mannings understand that if you know what you're talking about with football, that they will listen to you. And they know what you're talking about with football. So this isn't like some family that's like, oh, we got to have our baby get in the game. It's like, no, we want what's best for our kid, period. And again, the money is not the factor with the Mannings either. They don't need him to make it to the NFL.
They got enough money.
So to me, I think this is the perfect scenario.
I think they want him to make it to the NFL.
I think Arch will be able to handle the pressure because there's a lot of pressure to be that high level of a recruit, number one. But it's another level of pressure when it is everybody is looking as to whether or not you're going to bring the Texas Longhorns back. And I think Arch is going to be able to handle it. I think the Longhorns are back, baby.
I think it creates a really interesting dynamic at Texas because right now they already have a 5-star quarterback in the room. The way that recruiting works is you get graded on a 5-star, 4-star, obviously, and then you get an overall rating. And that can be, for most 5-stars, like 0.95, 0.96, essentially 95% good. There have only been 3 quarterbacks in the history of these recruiting rankings that have had a perfect, flawless 100% rating. Arch Manning is one of them, and the other one is currently in the quarterback room at Texas. You know, the third one.
The Quinn Evers or whatever?
Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
The third one, do you know?
How long back are we going for this?
I would say 15, 20 years.
Okay. Give it to me again.
There's 3 quarterbacks that have had perfect 100% flawless ratings as recruits.
Andrew
Quinn
Luck.
Ewers, no. There is something that's in common with all 3 of them.
Quinn Ewers.
Arch Manning.
This is clearly something Texas related.
Vince Young.
See, I was going to think, but Vince wasn't a great passer, so I felt like.
But he had a perfect 100% rating.
I'm going to say this.
But I think that creates a really interesting dynamic because is this guy going to transfer? Or is Arch going to redshirt in 2023, be the starter in 24? I don't know. I think it creates a very interesting dynamic, but clearly he saw a path to starting at Texas, which doesn't involve Quinn Ewers.
I'm going to say this about Vince Young. We can say whatever we want about Vince Young in the NFL. And Vince Young did win games and made 2 Pro Bowls in the NFL. Vince Young is one of the best college players I've ever seen in my life. I mean, when we talk about a guy carrying the Longhorns to the championship, Vince Young was that dude. Vince Young at Texas was Steph Curry at Davidson. Vince Young was awesome. And when I talk about the Longhorns getting back with Arch Manning, that's what I'm talking about. Like the Vince Young days. TD will join us coming up next. So, I asked Ryan Tannehill a question about why wasn't he very good last year? And Mike Vrabel talked about the interceptions. And so, how much does that make us believe Tannehill can revert to form? We will ask TD about that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company right here on 1025 The Game.
You watch The Game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Kick off Nashville Pride with Pride Night at the ballpark. Enjoy $2 and $3 drink specials throughout the park, as well as a special frozen drink special at the bandbox. Limited edition Sounds Pride tees are available tonight only, as the Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers at 7:05. Visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Joe Exeter here, inviting you to turn K's into cash this baseball season. Big hits into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. You sign up using promo code Joe102, place your first bet. FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. If you're looking at baseball, obviously one big story this year, the New York teams. I would be looking at both of them and any bets I might be approaching for baseball. Of course, FanDuel, you can do a lot of different things every day. Great promotions. It's safe and secure. You get paid fast. It's very easy. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Again, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code Joe102 to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Hey, this is Sean Ford, Director of Sales for ESPN 102.5 The Game. I'm looking for talented salespeople to add to our dynamic and growing team. If you're an experienced seller who's looking for a new adventure and a career path that offers more excitement and new opportunities, you may want to listen up. First of all, if you're hearing this message, you're probably already a fan of The Game. We have a long list of local businesses who are fans too and love what we do to help them grow. You might be someone who could be a part of that experience. Are you comfortable meeting strangers and earning their trust? Do you enjoy working in a team environment, but self-motivated to set and achieve your own personal goals? Are you a creative person who loves to share your ideas with others? Do you thrive on making a difference in your community? If the answers to all those questions was yes, then we should talk. Send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com. Let's see if we're a good match. Cromwell Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Backyard Blues Pools is your one-stop shop in Middle Tennessee for all your pool needs. Voted #1 pool company in Rutherford County 11 years in a row and counting. They have everything from new installs down to their 5-star cleaning services. Visit Backyard Blues Pools in either 2 locations in Murfreesboro. Be sure to honk your horn when you see their big yellow truck and the Lazy Penguin. Come support Clay Greenfield and the number 84 Backyard Blues Pools Toyota truck on Friday, June 24th at Nashville Superspeedway.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville Superspeedway a winner.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game. And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. It's the TD Power Hour. Teron Davenport, how are you, TD, from ESPN? Now that you're not covering any mini camps or any optional camps or anything else, how are you, TD? We got TD? I don't hear TD.
I think he's muted. I just asked him to unmute.
Ah.
My mic was muted. I'm here.
There you go, TD.
Here. It's good to, I guess, look, I'm in off-season form. How about it?
That's exactly right. Now, I will say this. Yesterday, Chris Sanders came on, and I asked how's he feel about Tannehill? And he is, and I love Chris with all my heart, he is the president of the Boo-Hoo Tannehill crew. And he is very excited about Ryan Tannehill this season. And it got me thinking, TD, I asked Tannehill at the Malik Willis mentor press conference about the difference between what happened in 2019 and 2020 and compared to 2021 where Tannehill was not as good. Here's what Tannehill said.
Was your 21 season not as good as your 20 or 19 season?
I think a lot of good and a lot of bad, and a lot of things went into it. You know, it wasn't one thing or another. You know, we broke down all the turnovers and what led to those, and it wasn't, you know, any one specific area that really jumped up. You know, it was just, you know, a little bit here, then you add the sum and you get the, you know, the big growth. So just taking a step back and reevaluating those things and, you know, seeing where I can improve upon going forward.
Now, in a totally unrelated topic of discussion, Mike Vrabel was asked about interceptions last season and this season, and here's what Mike Vrabel said.
Hopefully we run the right route all the time. Hopefully we don't let it bounce off our shoulder pads and into the other team's hands. Hopefully we make good decisions or better decisions at quarterback, and hopefully we can protect better. But those are the reasons that balls get intercepted. And we had all of them.
And that was on the official Titans podcast. By the way, he did throw some shade at Chester Rogers. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. But that was definitely at Chester Rogers on the shoulder pad thing. So, TD, with that, I ask you this. How do you feel about Ryan Tannehill going into the season? Do you see 1920 Tannehill or do you see 2021 Tannehill?
Yeah, I think the 2020 Tannehill is the one we'll see. When you look at what Mike Vrabel said, you do have to keep in mind what they've also said multiple times as far as every interception having its own story. There's different things that goes on. And I mean, we had a conversation about a route not being run correctly and leading to an interception against the Texans. So these things have happened. We have had a conversation about a throw just being ridiculously placed, and that's why it was an interception. So there's things behind all of that. I think we see the 2020 version. One thing that you have to look at is some of the guys that have been brought in, you know, Austin Hooper, Chig Okonkwo. I think you bring in those guys. Okonkwo is so much like Jonnu Smith, especially in the red zone. I think that's going to help a lot. Jared, you saw the couple, and Caroline, you saw it also, the 2 days of minicamp. I mean, he had 4 touchdown receptions in those 2 days, right, in low red zone drill. So that lets you know that there's ability there. So I think when you look at that, also bringing in Robert Woods, a very reliable target, that's going to help as well. Last year, you know, Tannehill threw more interceptions than he threw in 2020 and 2019 combined. So I'm going to give him not a pass, but I'm going to give him, you know, the opportunity to show that was an anomaly.
So I'm with you on Hooper and Okonkwo, and maybe not to the extent you are on Hooper, but I definitely thought that Chig, you know, made a lot of plays in the minicamp and the kind of things that I thought, you know, I was thinking maybe a little bit of Jonnu Smith as a rookie, and Jonnu was very, very raw when he came in, but Chig, I think, might be ahead of where Jonnu was when he first came in, and then all of a sudden Delaney Walker got hurt, and he got bumped up and everything else, and then eventually it took Jonnu some time to become Jonnu. Here's the thing I can't get over, though. How much of the 2019-2020 Tannehill was Arthur Smith?
Yeah, that's a really good observation. And I mean, you look at some of the route combinations and things like that. There were guys that were open a little bit more, but I mean, we also have to look at how much it was being worked with, right? I mean, A.J. Brown was available, 13 games.
Jack Conklin at right tackle in 19.
Right. And you look at the Jets game, I mean, that was just terrible receiver play, and it just, there wasn't anything to work with. But I do think that Arthur Smith had a lot to do with it, just scheming and just the comfort level that they had and everything. And that's something that I believe they brought Tim Kelly in to help out with, just make that passing game a little bit better. And I think Todd Downing, with a full repertoire, I think he could make a difference as well.
How do you feel about Tannehill's confidence? You've heard him for all the press conferences. We saw him play against the Bengals, and I thought the first interception completely rocked him for that entire game. How do you feel about his confidence entering this season, where he's spoken openly about how much that Bengals game hurt him And sometimes with a guy facing pressure, it's the best thing in the world. Sometimes with a guy facing pressure, it's terrible, and they crack under it. I'm worried about Tannehill cracking, and that's where I think between that and the Arthur Smith thing, I have a hard time with the 1920 Tannehill because the 19 Tannehill was just letting it fly, TD.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a totally different Tannehill that we won't see again probably. But I think the 2021 is one that we'll see. And here's the thing: Miami paid him $5 million to leave, right? And if anything's going to shake your confidence, it's an organization giving you millions of dollars to bounce. And he came in 2019 and just kept his head down, and when his opportunity arose, he took advantage of it. So I say that to say, I think last year was a humbling experience for him, but he showed in the past that he could rebound from that. So I'm going to believe what he showed me in 2019. And I will say that I'm not sitting here telling you that he's going to have a Pro Bowl caliber year, this, that, and the third, because you definitely have to be cautiously optimistic because there have been struggles in the postseason. You know, the last 2 years have ended on a Ryan Tannehill interception. So you have to keep that in mind.
How much do you look at what you saw in minicamp? And I don't think I saw Tannehill turn the ball over in the open OTAs, which last year in training camp practice, he was turning the ball over a little bit too much for my liking. And I remember the discussions at the press conferences after the practices was that good defense or was that bad offense? Or I don't feel like Tannehill turned the ball over. How much does that play into your mind when judging Tannehill, what you've seen this offseason?
I mean, he got picked off at least once, if I'm not mistaken. But last time I checked, there's no pads. They're not going full tilt. So I'm not going to put much on the positive or negative that we see out there. Training camp is going to be a good opportunity, especially these joint practices with the Cardinals and with the Bucs. Yeah. That's going to really be when you gauge it.
Yeah, because nobody cares if it's good defense by the Bucs.
Right.
There's no, that was a one-handed interception by Sean Murphy bunt. Nobody cares about that. It's just Sean Murphy bunt, he intercepted Tannehill. Tannehill threw 3 picks today at practice. That's not good. I do think this. If Tannehill reverts to the 1920 form, I think they can compete for a Super Bowl. But if he doesn't, I don't think they can compete for a Super Bowl. Is it that cut and dry?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to it than that. They definitely have to maintain a level of defense because, in my opinion, that's going to be the ticket for them. The defense is if they're going to go to a Super Bowl, it's going to be riding the defense. And another thing that you have to look at is not just Tannehill. You're going to need Robert Woods. More than anything else, Treylon Burks there's a lot with that. And I know they're not putting the pressure on him to, be A.J. Brown, but he is going to have to come in and give you some type of production. So those are some other things that have to happen. Derrick Henry, how is he going to respond? Judging from what we saw in minicamp, he's going to respond positively, but how is that going to be when it starts to count, when it starts to matter?
Do you think it's as simple as Vrabel said that, sometimes the wide receivers didn't run the right route. Sometimes they didn't make the right play on the ball. Sometimes the quarterback made the wrong decision. Sometimes the line didn't block for it. And then all that happened. And then to tie that back to what Tannehill said of, it was a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. Do you think that it was just that across the board for the offense last year? Or do you think there was one thing that was more obvious than the others that led to the problems the offense had?
No, I think it was a little bit of everything. It is definitely, and they hit it accurately when they said, right routes, bouncing off of a receiver, quarterback decisions, offensive line, because there were multiple times where, there wasn't any opportunity to make a precise throw because the pocket was collapsed quickly. So I think it's all of the above. And that, again, goes back to what we said, that every interception has its own story.
You brought up Treylon Burks. Mike Vrabel, who never says anything about Burks ever, did talk about Treylon Burks and what he expects Treylon Burks to do and living up to filling A.J. Brown's spot. TD, I want your thoughts on that coming up next. I want your level of comfort on the Burks situation. We'll get to that coming up next. the TD Power Hour. Tidron Davenport is with us from ESPN. 615-737-1025. Get your questions in for TD right here on Stillman and Company on ESPN 1025 The Game.
This June, we celebrate 50 years of Title IX, originally a law that outlawed discrimination in education on the basis of sex, which then evolved and changed women's roles in sports forever. We've seen women emerge as franchise owners, general managers, leaders, paving the way for every young girl dreaming to be just like them. 50 years down, but don't worry, we're not done yet.
This is 1025 The Game.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school, send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
Celebrate July 4th with huge deals from Electronic Express. Save big on summer necessities from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
People are driving from all over to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now to take advantage of our very best financing offer. Now extended through July 2nd. 5 years, zero interest financing with zero down. It's a fantastic opportunity, making everything more affordable. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? A $4,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $67 a month. Don't miss this. We will not be extending it again. 5 years, zero interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
We here at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game are looking for our next great executive producer. Hey, it's Chase McCabe, the program director. If you think that's you and you think that you have the experience, the drive, and of course you share that love of sports, send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Practice today. Is there a specific reason for that? And how do you feel about your first round pick not being out of practice today?
He was unavailable.
There you go. He was unavailable, Caroline.
Sorry for asking.
Sorry about that.
How dare I ask where the first round pick is?
So TD asked a similar question last week, and Vrabel, TD, he gave you pretty much the same answer.
Yeah, unavailable.
Unavailable. So we've talked about this. Last week, I felt like Vrabel was in a bad mood. And I don't know what it was. I'm not sure. Maybe he was tired after practice. Maybe he doesn't like the questions. Maybe he doesn't like the people asking the questions. I don't know. But he did do the Titans podcast, and he was in a much better mood to talk about something that I'm not sure he ever would have talked about with us in a insightful way. and that is Traylon Burks. And we all know this. Even though Traylon Burks is not A.J. Brown, he's Traylon Burks, that he was brought in to replace A.J. Brown. That's why the Titans made that trade, was because they thought Burks could replace A.J. Brown. Here's what Mike Vrabel said on the Titans official podcast.
Certainly A.J. has moved on, and, there's a business side of this that we've always talked about. I'm excited for Traylon to get back out there, to get back out at training camp, to have an understanding of our offense. We're not going to ask anybody to replace anybody. It's, he's going to go out and function and to build his role where he can go out there and help us. And I know that he will. I'm positive his attitude's been great. These next 5 weeks are going to be critical for him to get into training camp in shape, know what's going on, come in here with a great attitude. And I think things are starting to slow down for him, mentally from an installation. So we're excited to work with him, and we're looking forward to getting him out at training camp.
Now, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm naive, but that didn't feel like Vrabel coach talk. That felt like Vrabel is genuinely excited about Traylon Burks. Now, I haven't seen Traylon Burks play for the Titans, so I don't know how I could be excited about it. But, TD, do you share Vrabel's optimism about, 5 weeks from now, training camp starts? I think we were talking about during the 34 days or whatever. Training camp starts. Burks will be in shape. Burks will be ready to go. Burks will be out there. Get excited. Do you share how Vrabel feels?
Yeah, I think when you talk to the coaching staff, Rob Morris said he's very confident that those things will be worked out by the time training camp comes around. So I'm not so sure excited is the emotion that you should have, because there's definitely some question marks and there's definitely some things that need to be improved upon, right? And I think that's really the way you should approach it. But I do like the fact that he made it clear that Burks isn't being brought in to replace anybody or anything like that. It was a pick that was available to them, in that trade. And he was one of the better guys at the position. And they picked him, and he was someone that they thought about even when A.J. Brown was on the roster. So I think it's important to establish that he's not brought in to be the next A.J. Brown. He's brought in to be the first Traylon Burks.
I agree with that. I do think, though, that he was brought in to replace Brown. And this is like the conspiracy theory what-if question. Do you think the Titans would have made that trade with the Eagles if Traylon Burks had gone one pick prior to the Titans picking at 18, if he had gone to the Chargers at 17, which never would have happened because they already have receivers, but if the Chargers had taken Burks at 17 or somebody had hopped the Eagles and took Burks at 17, do you think the Titans still would have made that trade with the Eagles to move on? Or do you think it was, let's just move on from AJ and put Traylon in his spot? Because that line of thinking is important to me. Because if they did think like, okay, Traylon's going to replace AJ, then you can't tell me that, hey, we don't want him to come in here and replace AJ, because that's what they did. That's what you did. So don't tell me you don't want it when that's what you did. So I do wonder that, and they're never going to tell us, TD, but I do wonder, do you think that they made that trade because of Traylon?
I don't think it was because of Traylon. I think it was more because of the situation with Brown. And, I mean, if you look, the guys who were considered first-round picks or first-round talent at receiver, Burks was the last one available.
Yep.
So they may not have picked him. They may have picked Trevor Penning and then came back in the second round and picked, a guy like George Pickens or someone like that. You never know. But I don't think the trade was made like Traylon Burks or bust. Like, I don't think it was that type of situation.
Okay, let's kick this around the room. How do we feel? Let's foreshadow 6 months from now. Yeah, 6 months from now. How will we feel about the Traylon Burks summer? Will we look at it and say, oh, well, it was, it was so silly how wrapped into albuterol talk we got on the air, and pollen levels and dandruff and everything else in Tennessee, and none of that mattered, and Traylon Burks balled out, and he's a fine receiver, and he's going to be a good piece for the Titans? Or are we going to look back 6 months from now and say, Burks really got to worry about his shape, and he's really got to, show us a little bit more, and he's really got to, or is it going to be, oh, my God, this guy might be Isaiah Wilson? It's a large spectrum. TD, you're the guest of honor. You go first.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be an Isaiah Wilson factor, but I think it's going to be a situation where he's going to come along gradually in camp. And I think he's going to have a solid debut as a Titan in the season opener against the Giants. That's my belief. I think he's going to show some, the tremendous ability he has in camp. And I think this issue is going to be put behind.
Caroline?
I think it's going to be one of those things that we look back on and say, wow, we were so wrapped up in these off-season storylines. And at the time, it was worrisome. But 6 months from now, I think we'll look back and say we didn't really have much to worry about.
Okay, I think we're going to be worried 6 months from now. Maybe not Isaiah
Of course
Wilson.
you think we're going to be worried 6 months from now.
Why?
Because you always worry.
Here's why I say this. And this is not fair. So I just want everybody to know that ahead of time. The Titans have been stinking it up with first-round picks.
Yeah.
And this is...
So are we going to automatically incriminate Treylon Burks just because he was a first-round pick and the past two haven't worked out?
Yes!
That's not fair. You know that's not fair.
TD?
That's not... I won't agree with that. And Caleb Farley, it's way too early to say that hasn't worked out. I mean, the man's in line to be one of the starting cornerbacks. So I think, that's really what you use a first-round pick for, is to get a starter, and he's in line to be a starter. And all things are pointing towards him having a solid season. Now, Isaiah Wilson, of course.
Well, I'm not saying Isaiah Wilson. I did throw that out there as one of the spectrum ends. But what bothers me about the whole first-round pick thing is, even Farley. I was impressed with how Farley and Woods moved on their knees in the open practices that we were able to see. But there's, as I said, the middle part of the spectrum was, we need to see more. I think we can all agree we definitely need to see more out of Caleb Farley because we need to see Caleb Farley actually play on the Titans. But it's just one first-round pick, other than Simmons, one first-round pick after first-round pick. It's, I need to see a little bit more out of Corey Davis. I need to see a little bit more out of Jackson. I need to see a little bit more out of Rashawn Evans. Isaiah Wilson, there is no more to see. I need to see a little bit more out of Farley. And then Burks comes in, and you have the allergy and the asthma and the everything else. And it's like, I want you guys to be right. I want you guys to be right.
So should you think that every fifth-round pick John Robinson makes is going to be an all-pro or Pro Bowl caliber player?
When John Robinson picks later in the draft, I truly believe, I'll use Rashad Weaver as an example. I think Weaver could be a pretty good player on this team this year, even though he broke his leg last year. Because Robinson gets these guys, later in the draft that become really, really solid players. And that's the thing that's crazy about the drafting around here.
It's just like each interception has its own story. Each draft pick has its own story. There are things mixed in with the Corey Davis pick. There are things mixed in with the Adoree Jackson pick, the Jack Conklin pick, the Jeffrey Simmons pick, Caleb Farley pick, the Isaiah. Well, these are all isolated cases that they're linked by all being first-round picks. But I can't get with the idea of saying, okay, well, their picks before didn't do well in the first round, so this guy's not going to do well. I can't get down with it.
Well, we do have the offseason drama. I will say this, though, and this might be a take. You brought up the fifth round. Kyle Phillips or Treylon Burks, who has more receiving yards as a rookie?
Oh, I firmly believe it'd be Treylon Burks. There's a chance that Phillips has more receptions, but he's going to be more of that 50 receptions for 500 yards type of guy.
And what do you think Burks will be?
I think 60 for 700 or 800, something along those lines. You got to remember, you watch him in the SEC, he averaged 9.4 yards after the catch. The ability is there. He's a capable receiver.
Do you think Phillips will start at the slot?
If they use a lot of 11 personnel, I think he has a good shot at doing that. I just want to see him and Mason Kinsey, compete. That's what I want to see. I'm not sure who's going to win out of that. They'll give Phillips every opportunity, in my opinion, to win, but we'll see what happens.
TD is with us. They got some business to take care of. Jeffrey Simmons And the Joe Rexrode laughable contract that we got into yesterday, which I actually thought was pretty funny. The Jeffrey Simmons, I think he's looking for a new deal. I don't know. He won't tell anybody if he is. Derrick Henry said last week he'd be open to a new deal, and they're not the only guys that are out there. So what could we see out of the Titans' off-season business as that starts to get ramped up? TD will discuss what he's looking forward to. That's coming up next right here on Stillman and Company. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. That's right. I absolutely love my friends at Hiller, and they take a fantastic care approach to my home. I absolutely love. I hate anytime they have to come because it means something's wrong, but whenever they do a fantastic job, and they're not coming back. There is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with Hiller. Until the end of June, Hiller is offering 0 interest for 60 months on select new HVAC systems, 0 months for 12 months on new tankless water heaters, 0 interest for 12 months on new whole home generators, and if you know you need a new system for your home, do it this month. These financing offers are available for a limited time only to help you stay comfortable and cool all summer long and handle the payments later. Visit happyhiller.com for all the details. As always, Happy will be here. The service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, call the Happy Face truck today.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I had it. If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Hey, this is Sean Ford, Director of Sales for ESPN 102.5 The Game. I'm looking for talented salespeople to add to our dynamic and growing team. If you're an experienced seller who's looking for a new adventure and a career path that offers more excitement and new opportunities, you may want to listen up. First of all, if you're hearing this message, you're probably already a fan of The Game. We have a long list of local businesses who are fans too and love what we do to help them grow. You might be someone who could be a part of that experience. Are you comfortable meeting strangers and earning their trust? Do you enjoy working in a team environment, but self-motivated to set and achieve your own personal goals? Are you a creative person who loves to share your ideas with others? Do you thrive on making a difference in your community? If the answers to all those questions was yes, then we should talk. Send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com. Let's see if we're a good match. Cromwell Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Friday night. NASCAR comes to Nashville Superspeedway for the Rackley Roofing 200 Camping World Truck Series race. Coverage begins at 6:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
There was a report that the Titans would be open to working on a new contract with you. Would you be excited about that? How would you feel about the idea of working on a new contract with the Titans?
I mean, it's always good to get a promotion at your job. When you think so, you get a promotion. That's always good. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to work through that. I mean, I'm currently still on a contract, and if that's what the future holds, then yeah, I mean, that'd be great.
Derrick Henry would love a contract, and honestly, even though I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense to give him one, I do support Derrick Henry. So if Derrick Henry were to get one, while it would probably be irresponsible, as Joel Corey said, former NFL agent, it would be irresponsible to give him a contract extension, I would be happy for Derrick. I mean, I wouldn't be happy for the Titans, but I would be happy for Derrick.
Get your bag, Derrick.
TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. So, Derrick, you heard right there. He said they're working through whatever they're trying to figure out. We know about Jeffrey Simmons. They're not the only guys who could be looking at contracts coming up here. Let me put you in John Robinson's shoes first. What contracts are you thinking about going into the season, and which guys do you say, let's let these guys play out and not worry about it?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, they probably should stay put in pretty much all contract situations. Maybe something with Long or Amani Hooker, but I think because those guys, their deals are up at the end of the year. But I think Nate Davis as well, those are deals they might be able to get in front of and get done, get some extensions there. But as far as the Derrick Henry front, the Jeffrey Simmons front, I don't think they should do anything right this moment. I mean, Simmons is a deal that they could get in front of, especially considering how Aaron Donald's, his average salary now is, in the $30 million range. I don't think a deal gets done this year, though. I think that's more towards next year.
Okay. Now I'm going to put you in the position of the players. Now, you had the reporting about who was advising Jeffrey Simmons last week, because when he met with the media, he kind of made it out to be some secret team. What do we think Simmons wants right now? What do we think Simmons wants as far as the future's concerned? What do we think, because it does take two to tango. And if Simmons walks into camp, now he said his plan is to be there for camp, but could you see Simmons walking into camp saying, hey, let's get a deal done, because he wants the long-term security, TD?
Well, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want the long-term security? That's something I feel that is of interest there. But if that doesn't happen, I personally believe that he'll still play. I think he's confident enough to gamble on himself and have a big year. The big thing with him is changing the sacks into strip sacks. So that's something, really would up his value. And I would expect him to have an even better year than he had this past year. So that's going to make whatever the deal is a lot better. And I mean, I think the thing that you have to consider in that negotiating process is $4.02 million this year. The discounts are over. It's time to get the money. And I think that's the way that it's going to be approached.
Which guys, you talked about Hooker, Long, and Davis, which of those guys would you prioritize? And then if you were their agents, which guys would you be willing to work out a deal with the Titans on, and which guys would you say, no, let's take you to the market, because this 2023 season could be the first season with the new cap, with the TV contracts, and that could explode the deal for average to above average players?
Yeah, I think Nate Davis is probably the guy I would prioritize, just because of the state of the offensive line, and you need some type of continuity there. So to have a new left guard and right tackle, and then the following year have a new right guard and possibly a center, who knows what's going to happen with Ben Jones next year. So I think Nate Davis is where it would start. From there, I mean, Amani Hooker and David Long, those guys are both impact players, but they do have some depth at those positions. So I would kind of approach it, from that perspective. As far as their agents are concerned, I mean, I think all three of them need to try to get something done. You know what I mean? Because you want that security, and they're all three of them are in really good spots as far as what they're asked to do and how that matches their talent. So it gives them a chance to showcase what they could do. So I would want to get a deal done with all three of them.
What would you do if you were Derrick Henry's agent? It's obvious Derrick would like to work a deal. You heard he said that they're working through things. And I believe the Jeremy Fowler report that came out about a month ago about how the Titans would be open to working on a new deal with Derrick Henry and that there could be a deal that has escape hatches in case Derrick Henry doesn't age well. I believe that came from Derrick Henry's camp. So I think they wanted the word out there that, the Titans could do a deal with Derrick Henry. And then I asked Derrick about I expected Derrick to be like, oh, yeah, I don't talk about those things. Or, oh, yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm just playing football. Or, he was definitely like, yeah, I'd like it. Just like you'd probably like one too. And he's not wrong. But if you were Derrick Henry's agent and Derrick were to look and say, I'm making $12.5 million this year. We've made good money in the past, but nothing is guaranteed for next year. What can we do? What would you say to Derrick?
Yeah, I think there's 3.25 guaranteed for next year. So, I mean, there's something. But I think that was a good question that you asked, and he gave a response that's different from how he's approached it before. So the situation is clearly different. And I think, if I'm Henry, I'm looking for some type of extension or something to, provide more guaranteed money. But at the same time, if he goes out and has a typical Derrick Henry season next year, he's on the books for 15.5. And I think the Titans would pay that. And then after 2023, anything could happen.
I think if I was Derrick's agent, this is how I'd play it. You tell me if you think this is over the line. I'd tell him, hey, you got to go out there and play like Derrick Henry. And then after the season, we're either going to want an extension from the Titans with a little bit more guaranteed money and some money up front. And, that way we can tell them, oh, yeah, just spread it out, spread out the $15 million hit, lower that, spread some money out, but get you some more guaranteed money. Or else we can tell the Titans, trade us or we're retiring. And I know Derrick probably doesn't want to go down that road because it just seems so anti-Derrick to go up there and say that. But I would have no sympathy for the Titans if Derrick Henry were to go rush for 2,000 yards, take the Titans back to the divisional round or AFC Championship game of the playoffs, and then all of a sudden strong-arm the Titans. Aaron Donald kind of did that this year with the, hey, I don't have to play anymore. Here's the $30 million ring. All right, that's great. I think Derrick will have enough money next year after the $12 million this year that he can legitimately tell the Titans, like, that's fine. If you don't want to guarantee me any more money, then I'll just retire. That's what I would tell Derrick if I was his agent. What do you think?
I mean, that's what you could have the agent tell the Titans. But I highly doubt that Derrick himself would say that or go to the Titans and tell them that himself. I don't see him doing that. But I mean, we've learned this past off season that in certain situations, what you think of somebody will actually be a little different than what could happen. So I could see that being a strategy. I think really it comes down to, just having a solid season this year and seeing how it works after the season. And that's when an extension, in my opinion, could really come into play, a 1 year or 2 year type of extension.
So here's the thing that gets me, though, and this. The Titans leveraged Derrick Henry so hard a couple of years ago between the $10.5 million franchise tag and the pandemic that was threatening to wipe away games. And Derrick, if he played on the tag, would have been playing on a per-game basis. That I almost want Derrick to get some money out of the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, you always want the players to be able to get some money because we know the franchises are making plenty of money. So,
but see, for a lot of guys, there's some guys where I'm like, no, he doesn't need any more money. Tannehill does not need more money from the Titans. Tannehill needs to pay what he owes. Ryan Johansson does not need any more money from the Predators. He's doing his thing. With Derrick, it's like, I almost feel like the Titans kind of screwed him. And so it's like, yeah, Derrick, you hold their rear ends to the fire as well. And maybe I shouldn't be as emotionally invested in that.
Well, no, I mean, I get what you're saying. The money that the quarterbacks make, that's a different situation. And the way that situation always transpires as far as, how they're taken care of, it is different. And the pounding and the toll that it takes. I mean, you see what Derrick Henry does. And I think, absolutely. All the more reason for him to get more money when you have the opportunity. And like I said, I'm always a proponent of guys getting paid.
TD's with us. Get your questions in for TD. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. TD will answer your questions. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company right here on the program on 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there that 1025 and 1063 The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in tomorrow through Sunday for the following races at the Nashville Superspeedway. Friday is the Rackley Roofing 200 at 6:30 p.m. Saturday is the Tennessee Lottery 250 at 2 o'clock. Sunday is the Ally 400 at 3 o'clock. Also, join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chasing Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for race weekend. NASCAR on 1025 and 1063 The Game is presented by the Backyard Blues Pools, Tootsie's Infield Club, Nashville Superspeedway, and the Nashville Fairground Speedway.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Ample Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairground Speedway
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. Forecast today still hot, but not as hot. Yesterday, record-breaking heat at 101 degrees in Nashville. Today, high temperature right near 94. Low humidity, tons of sunshine, but also a very high UV index.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school, send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes! This killer offer has been extended through July 2nd. Our most aggressive offer of the year continues, but won't be extended again. It's not just on engagement rings. It's earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 eternity band comes out to just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry is also included in this amazing offer. Now through July 2nd at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit.
The Authentically American 4th of July collection is live and ready to ship. Go to authenticallyamerican.us right now to order yours. Plus, 20% of all purchases from the 4th of July collection will be donated to Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to build and donate specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them and to rebuild their lives. Have a happy and safe 4th of July from Authentically American. Made for you, made in America. Authentically American.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexroad.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, the TD Power Hour. Teron Davenport is with us. Hey, by the way, the Sounds tonight. That's right. Tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight at 7:05 on 94.9 The Fan as the Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers, a AAA affiliate of the Braves. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Great time, by the way, last night at the Sounds game. Had a great experience, and Caroline thought the mascot's name was Rooster.
It makes more sense for his name to be Rooster than it is Booster. He's a chicken.
His name is Booster. You were like, I think his name's Rooster. I'm like,
that makes so much more sense. He's a chicken. He's in the Rooster family.
TD, your thoughts on the name of the Sounds mascot?
Oh yeah, I don't even. I don't really even have any thoughts on that one, to be honest with you.
I mean,
that's fair. We should have prepped him on that.
Here's the thing: TD ought to be worried though,
the hard
because
questions.
TD ought to be worried because the Atlanta Braves are coming again, like they did last year, just coming right up the.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. You know, thankfully, Jock Peterson hit a home run a couple of days ago to help the Giants beat them. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's still 4.5, 5 games, so hopefully that lead remains that way. And
there you go.
Max Scherzer is coming back soon too, and soon DeGrom, and that's when things will really start getting going.
There we go. Time for your questions for TD. 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com.
Ryan texts in and says, TD, what are your expectations for Caleb Farley this year based on what you've seen from him this offseason?
Yeah, it's way early. He had the yellow jersey on, and he still has the brace on his knee. But my expectations are for him to be a starter. I'm not going to say Pro Bowl caliber starter, but I think he is going to be, a big part of that defense. And the thing is with him, if he gets his hands on the football, he's going to score. And I expect for them to get, at least one pick six from him. Yeah, that's the contribution I think he's going to make.
TD, I read your column at ESPN where you did the roster breakdown of the Titans, like a projected 53-man roster. Every single one of
way too early.
Way too early. Every single one of the corners that you had on the roster, I think, is almost a starting caliber player, including McCreary, who I haven't seen that much of. Right now, how would you kind of rank the corners? Because even guys like Buster Screen and Elijah Molden and Chris Jackson have played big roles for the Titans.
Right, and that's the thing I think that's really good. And I talked to Anthony Midget, the DB coach, about this. The versatility is really outstanding as far as guys that can play inside and outside, because Farley can play the nickel if you ask him to. His footwork, and he's quick enough to be able to do that. But I think if you rank them, Christian Fulton is their best corner, then Farley, and then, it gets into, like, what do you want? You want a nickel guy that's, can play dime linebacker. You got Elijah Molden. If you want a guy that could line up inside and outside and be a feisty corner, you got Roger McCreary. You want the veteran. You got Buster Screen. And then you want the guy that just, could double as a special teams, a gunner, and that type of thing. You got Chris Jackson. So I think that's how it is. It's just kind of like the two starters and then just different branches that you could go out into.
Ian, what would the GM always say about corners?
Never have enough corners.
Never have enough. That's right.
Well, yeah.
Corey texts in and says, if there's going to be a diamond in the rough on the Titans that might have a breakout year this season, who might you think that would be?
Ooh, goody.
Good question. I'm telling you, I think Okonkwo is going to have an impact, but I don't want to jump the gun too early on that one. So let me see, diamond in the rough that have a breakout season. Let's look up front. I think David Long is going to have a breakout season to the point where he's recognized across the league as one of the best linebackers. That's the one I'm going to pick.
Mine, Josh Malone. I think Josh Malone's going to make this football team, because I think they're going to look at it like, you know what? Last year, we didn't have enough outside guys at receiver. So even though, he may be on the bench and not much of a special teams player, I think Josh Malone's going to make the team, and I think Tannehill's going to like Josh Malone. And TD, I know he hasn't stuck anywhere, but he looks like a talented dude out there.
Yeah, they like to throw those alley-oops to him, and he'll go up and get it. I'll say that. He just better play special teams, and He told me that he spoke to Craig Ackerman and told him that he'll play. You know, your favorite guy. He said he'll play anywhere they ask him to play. But I just don't get too caught up in what you saw in shorts and jerseys and helmets. Though that's
Well, if there's anybody who can get him right, TD, it's Greg Ackerman. You know, there's no doubt about that on the special teams front. I mean, they don't even need, honestly, the special teams around here have been so bad for so long, they don't even need him to do anything. It's like, yeah, just go out there and just run around for a little bit and throw your hands in the air and, you know, they'll score a touchdown on a punt return, but it won't matter because nobody will be punished for it. So knock yourself out. That's my take. What else you got?
Another texter says, texts in about the interceptions and says, isn't it worrisome that Tannehill says it was a little here and a little there? Having one or two solid issues that you can concentrate on fixing would seem to be a better solution or situation as compared to having lots of issues with different players, coaches, schemes that you have to figure out.
Well, I think the reasons that they gave for the interceptions, if you look at any team, you're going to have all of those. So the main thing, in my opinion, was Tannehill. He has to protect the ball a little bit better. That's really the bottom line. He has to take his shots when they're there, but I don't think there's a problem with having an assortment of minor issues, right? It's not like, okay, the quarterback was just completely inaccurate every time the ball was picked off, or it's not like, you know, the receivers just dropped every interception and it was tipped into a DB's hands. I think when you have the things that they're looking to tweak, those are easier to fix.
You know what I was thinking about, though, with the interceptions? What we were talking about earlier with Todd Downing? I feel like nobody's talking about Todd Downing right now. And if things don't go right in the first quarter of the first game, Twitter and the phoner and the callers and the texters are going to be after Todd Downing. I mean, it is, and I don't really have an opinion on Todd Downing, TD. I'm sure you've looked at the tape and you probably have a much stronger opinion on it than I would. But I'm just telling you, if the Titans will go this whole offseason, we won't talk about Todd Downing at all. And then all of a sudden, on the second drive of the Giants game, they'll go 3 and out, and people are going to want Todd Downing fired.
I mean, people are going to probably want that anytime there's an issue, because it's always easy to point to the offensive coordinator or the coach or anything like that. But if you look, there's more to it than just that. So I'll leave it at that.
Michael texts in and says, it feels like John Robinson shifted from underwhelming starters to true boomer bust first rounders around the time of Jeffrey Simmons. Is there something specific that shifted in the front office or philosophy that's led to different approach the last few years in round one?
No, I mean, Caleb Farley was a top 10 talent available at the back end of the first round. He pulled the trigger on it. And I think if you look this year, you know, they needed a receiver that was a rugged, sturdy type of player that gets some yards after the catch and, you know, could be a contributor on the offense. And I think Treylon Burks fits that. So it's, again, a case-by-case basis.
Isn't every player kind of boomer bust in that regard too? Like, let's use Kenny Pickett as an example, right? Like, I think the consensus is Kenny Pickett's going to be fine, right, TD?
I think he'll be a solid starter. I don't expect an impact player out of him, but yeah.
I mean, if Kenny Pickett runs the Steelers for 6 years, but they don't win anything big, then they're going to be like, Kenny Pickett wasn't good enough. And if Kenny Pickett, you know, takes the Steelers to 5 Super Bowls, then they're going to be like, Kenny Pickett is the best. So we don't look at Kenny Pickett as like a boomer bust player. But if Kenny Pickett doesn't do well enough, they're going to be mad. And if Kenny Pickett does well, then they're going to be happy. And so I think all these guys are boomer bust. I think all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any difference between Corey Davis.
First round, it's boom or bust. I mean, yeah, without a doubt. Anytime you're talking first round.
Ryan texts in and says, I have a feeling that Austin Hooper, barring injury, is going to hit 70 catches, 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Your thoughts on that, TD?
6 touchdowns.
And he said, who was that?
Hooper.
Austin Hooper.
I could see that. I could see 6 touchdowns. I think because you got to remember, Tannehill, he targets the tight ends frequently. I mean, you look, the combination of Michael Pruitt and Jeff Swaim, they had 6 touchdowns right there last year. The tight ends are involved in this offense in the red zone. So there's going to be opportunities to score. And then you look at just the extensive work that they're doing, the top of the work top of the route work during downtime in practice, right when everyone else is working on special teams. It's going to be a combination to watch. So I could definitely see the 6 touchdowns and the other stats that were mentioned.
TD, always good to talk to you. The Talking with TD podcast is out. We will hear you tomorrow morning as always. TD, appreciate you, bud.
For sure. Appreciate you. Definitely have a good weekend.
Yep, there you go. TD joining us on the program. So David Poyle today gave an update on Philip Forsberg, and he used a word that Joe Rexrode immediately walked over and told me. Joe Rexrode comes up to me immediately after Robbie, who had a one-on-one with David Poyle, told Joe that he said, and Joe came over to me as far as Forsberg is concerned with a word that Poyle used. We'll get to that coming up next. Caroline, tell us about the Caesar Sportsbook app.
It's time for the Caesar Sportsbook report. Now, first things first, when you place your first bet with Caesar Sportsbook, it is risk-free up to $1,500. Just download the app and use promo code RADIO15, one word, RADIO15, and then place your first bet. It's that easy. And if you win, then congratulations. But if not, no worries. You'll get that wager back as a free bet. Now, if you're looking for something to put that first bet on, there's an odds boost going on in Caesar Sportsbook right now. It's at plus 550 odds. No run in the first inning of Astros at Yankees, Orioles at White Sox, and Phillies at Padres. Now, I think that Phillies at Padres game is going to be an offensive fireworks show. But if you think that it's worth putting a little bit of money on at 550 odds, I think that you have a pretty good bet there. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager returned only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesar Sportsbook. Download it, people.
You watch the game. We talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF, unicefusa.org/action.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury. He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. The Predators brass spoke today. The chairman, Herb French, spoke today and gave his full support to David Poile. The future chairman, Governor Bill Haslam, spoke today and went on the midday show. The president of the team, Sean Henry, spoke today. And the general manager, David Poile, spoke today. So literally, the brass of the Predators all spoke. And Robbie Stanley, tomorrow at 7 o'clock, will have a one-on-one with David Poile, in which they cover an assortment of topics, including Poile's thoughts on Haslam joining the ownership group and what it means for the franchise. He talks a lot about Philip Forsberg, his reaction to Roman Josi losing the Norris Trophy. By the way, he called the voting process unacceptable, David Poile did. I'll talk about some of the things David Poile does. I'll say that's unacceptable.
Zinger.
And then his thoughts on how he views the Colorado loss after seeing how well Colorado's played. I am sure that he is more optimistic about the team after seeing how Colorado played. But I could be wrong. You got to listen tomorrow at 7 o'clock when David Poile sits down one-on-one with Robbie Stanley. And a cut from that interview we have, and it is talking about Philip Forsberg. Now, Philip Forsberg's been out and about around town, CMA Fest, soccer games, you name it. And Robbie Stanley asked David Poile today about the fact that maybe that could be a good thing for Forsberg and whether or not he's coming back.
You mentioned the Forsberg situation. Has it been encouraging to you that he's been pretty visible here in Nashville this offseason? You read anything into that at all? Or?
If I'm reading anything into it, it's positive, and everything is positive in the conversations. It's just that we don't have a deal done, and I remain optimistic. There's going to be a deadline here. We get lots done oftentimes when there's a deadline, but it's am I concerned? Absolutely. I mean, it would have been very good if we could have had this done a lot earlier, because there's certain things that you would do or could do if Philip was signed, and there's certain things that you can't do, and now we're in a situation where we're formulating all sorts of different plans because we have to be ready for either scenario. So it's not where I want to be, and I would hope that if there's going to be a resolve, that it could be resolved. But we got to prepare for whatever now.
Okay, so let's analyze the double talk. 1, he says he's optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
2, he said, "Am I concerned?"
Yes.
Yes, I'm concerned. So Joe Rex wrote. So I walk over talking to Robbie and Joe after I talked to Herb Fritch, and I'm talking to Robbie and Joe, and Joe looks at me and goes, "Still 100% now?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And Joe goes, "Poile told Robbie he's concerned about re-signing Forsberg." I was like, oh. Then Robbie sent me the cut, and I'm thinking, okay, does this lower this from 100% for me, 90% for you?
Mm-hmm.
Does what David Poile say lower your confidence at all in the Predators and Philip Forsberg reuniting?
No.
Ian?
It's probably about the same, I guess.
I mean, not at all. I mean, it's so funny. Like, I laugh when I hear David Poile talk about how, would we have liked to have this done by now? Yeah, we would have liked to have this done by now. And I hear, it'd be easier if we had a deadline, or I forget what the word he said about deadline was, but it's almost something that Elliot Friedman said last week on the midday show, which I'm just saying. So, I mean, it's obvious. I think Poile's frustrated because he wants the deal done, but that whole cut from Robbie, it's all leveraging. Both sides are leveraging. And I heard them talk about this today on the midday show, which is which side blinks first. Does Poile blink first, or does Forsberg's side blink first? And I'm just telling you, that's what's going on here. I'm optimistic, but we have to prepare for all these extra plans, because if we don't get Philip Forsberg back, then we have to operate a certain way. So yeah, we're optimistic. Yeah, we want him back. Yeah, we wish this were done. But, there's just certain things that we have to factor in here or there, and we have to go, which is his way of saying, we are prepared, Philip, in case you decide to go somewhere else and only take the 7 years and don't take the 8th year. We are prepared, Philip. So I'm just saying, that's the way. And the Phillip people who aren't speaking publicly, but to me it's pretty obvious when we heard the guy from Sportsnet say that they weren't making any progress over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is the Forsberg people are saying to David, whatever it is they've offered, they're saying that's what we want. So David says, well, I can't do 9.3 over 8 and a full no move. And they're like, okay. And then it's, hey, have you guys thought about it at all? Yeah, 9.3 over 8, full no move. Well, I can't do that. Okay. And that's what's going on. Whereas Forsberg is probably sitting there wondering, hey, have they offered? Like, what should we take? Like, should we just take it? Should we agree to this? We're getting an 8th year here, and I want to live here. And then the agent is probably like, hey, it'll work. It'll be cool. Just be cool. It'll work. And that's what's, I think, happening here. And I think the agent probably thinks that if they can get some money from other teams, that then may make the Predators give in to what they don't want to do, which it's obvious David doesn't want to do it. But as we've said many times, I'm not sure David really has a choice, no matter how much he talks about the extra plans that he has.
And I think that we can psychoanalyze the word concern all day long, which is, I'm sure, is what a lot of people are doing. But I look at him saying concerned less, not as much as I'm concerned that we're not going to reach a deal. I'm concerned that Phillip Forsberg won't be back in Nashville. I think it was more so, yeah, if we could have a contract signed, that'd be great. Now, there's a level of concern there, a level of worry there that's going to exist no matter what, as long as the pen hasn't reached the paper. I think it was more so that, just the level of uneasiness that Phillip Forsberg hasn't signed rather than concern that he won't sign.
Oh, no, I think that was concern that he won't sign.
I don't get that vibe.
Oh, I definitely think that. And again, I think the message the Predators have sent out by every time they talk about Forsberg is we have to have other plans just in case. The message they're sending out is, Phillip, if you go somewhere else, that's okay. We're prepared for you to go somewhere else. So don't think we're going to raise our ante because we got other plans, Phillip. Think about this. What was the Green Bay Packers' second choice at quarterback if Aaron Rodgers decided to leave?
Jordan Love.
Was it?
Maybe not.
You think they'd go into the season with Jordan Love as their quarterback?
They'd probably find someone else.
Ian, what did you think did we ever hear what the backup option was if Aaron Rodgers, who spent 6 months leaving the Packers in limbo, did we ever figure out what their backup choice would have been?
I don't think I heard anything specific.
You can assume it was Jordan Love since they drafted him to be the successor.
Yeah, but he sucks. If he didn't suck, they would have said, okay, Aaron,
but that's
retire.
what the answer would have been, most likely. They drafted him in the first round.
No, I guarantee you they know he sucks. Just like how the Broncos drafted Drew Lock in the second round, and all they've done ever since they drafted him in the second round was try to replace him. Like, they know. The Packers know. This goes back to the whole Patrick Mahomes 1 year, they knew, move the other guy out. Jordan Love 1 year, he stinks, they know, do whatever it takes to keep the guy here. That's what that is. I mean, even Belichick wanted to move off of Brady. Like, so that tells you how bad Jordan Love must really suck. Now, I was open to the idea that Jordan Love might not stink that bad, and then Robbie texted me and was like, nah, he absolutely stinks. And I would assume that Robbie probably watches Packer preseason games, and I don't, so that may lend you a hand there. What I'm saying is, I don't think the Packers had a backup plan. I think the Packers' backup plan, if they did have one, was probably like, okay, so if this happens, we get all these picks for Aaron, then we'll turn around, give all these picks maybe to get Russell. But they weren't letting people know that they had a backup plan because they wanted Aaron to know that this job is yours, Aaron. Don't leave us. Please stay. Because all they wanted to do was not antagonize Aaron Rodgers. The message the Predators are trying to get to Forsberg is, hey, you're waiting for us to budge, but we're not going to budge. That's why we've got our backup plans. But I'm telling you, he's still going to sign because I just don't think David Poile can live with not having Phillip Forsberg on the team. This team will not make the playoffs no matter what extracurricular plans David Poile has. This is the same man that gave us the smashing hit second-round pick for Jeremy Lauzon, and he's going to tell us he's got some super secret plan that we don't know about.
Don't you think they have to have something in mind?
No.
No, the track record's not great.
I think this is going to be like when Boston
But
traded
I don't
Tyler
think that
Seguin.
because Green Bay would not have come out publicly and said, "Okay, Aaron, this is our plan if you walk." So good riddance if you do.
Absolutely, they would have never done that.
But I'm sure they did have a plan. Or if they really truly did not believe in Jordan Love as much as you said that they don't believe in Jordan Love, which I probably agree with, they had to have had a plan.
Right. But there's a reason why they didn't talk about it.
Right. So the Predators aren't going to talk about it.
The Predators talk about it every day.
But the Predators...
We got all these plans. We
But what
got
is it?
plans B, C, and D.
What is the plan? They're not going to tell you what it is.
But the point is that's because they don't have one. The reason they're telling you they have a plan is because they want Forsberg to think, oh, yeah, go see if the grass is greener. But trust me, we got our plans. Whereas with Aaron, it was, please come back, Aaron, because they knew that if they sent the message to Aaron that, oh, we don't need you, because that's what this is. That's what plan B, C, D, that's what that is, hey, we'd love to have you, but we don't need you. With the Packers, if it was, Aaron, we don't need you, Aaron,
he would have been gone.
Aaron would have gone. Like, Aaron wanted the Packers to get on their knees and kiss his feet, and they did. And maybe they'll win. They haven't won in a while, but Phillips not looking to get his feet kissed. Phillips looking to get his money. And so that's what this is all a negotiation. In fact, I almost, after hearing that clip, and again, what double talk? I'm optimistic and I'm concerned. Okay. I mean, what straight double talk? Just so much bullcrap. He will remain on the Predators. I mean, there are very few things that I have felt this sure about in my tenure of hosting shows on here. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Your reaction to that, though. And again, the full Robbie sit-down with David Poyle is at 7 o'clock tomorrow. That's the cut from that. 615-737-1025. And Willie has a take on Forsberg, which I had not heard. Now, we all know Willie is the play-by-play voice of the Predators, but I'm not going to say that it coming from Willie means that it comes from the team. But it was a take from Willie that I heard, and I'm like, I haven't heard that one before. And so we'll get to that next. And, of course, your phones. What did you think of what Forsberg or what Poyle said about Forsberg to Robbie? And, again, it's all the same, that we have to be prepared. We want him to come back, make it prior, whatever. But, again, the not optimistic, who knows. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is your home for NASCAR in Nashville this weekend.
It's a photo finish at the line.
Catch the Rackley Roofing 200, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Ally 400 right here. It's presented by Backyard Blues Pools, Tootsie's Infield Club, Nashville Super Speedway, and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
If you want to sell your ride, do it now. All you have to do is go to GiveMeTheVin.com, put in your license plate number, put in the miles, and attach a couple of pictures. Visit GiveMeTheVin.com.
Where will you be for the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway? The Tootsie's Infield Club will be the coolest spot in the house before and during the race. With the shaded seating, cold drinks, and live music, it's just like Broadway at the Speedway. You'll be close to the bar, the bathroom, and all the action in Turn 4. How do you get in? Add a fan walk or pre-race track access pass to your Ally 400 ticket purchase, and we'll see you at the Tootsie's Infield Club.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
People are driving from all over to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now to take advantage of our very best financing offer. Now extended through July 2nd. 5 years, zero interest financing with zero down. It's a fantastic opportunity, making everything more affordable. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? A $4,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $67 a month. Don't miss this. We will not be extending it again. 5 years, zero interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
The Authentically American 4th of July collection is live and ready to ship. Go to authenticallyamerican.us right now to order yours. Plus, 20% of all purchases from the 4th of July collection will be donated to Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to build and donate specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them and to rebuild their lives. Have a happy and safe 4th of July from Authentically American. Made for you, made in America. Authentically American.
Never miss a moment of the show. What is this? Check it out. Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Basically, what I've heard is that it's status quo. That, I think right to this point, Forsberg knows how the Predators feel, and the Predators know how Forsberg feels. And I really wonder if we're going to need a deadline to sort this out. So I don't want to say to the Predators fans, we might still be grinding away at this for another 3 weeks or so, but it's not impossible that could be the case. I've had a couple people kind of hint to me that we might need a real deadline to figure out where we're going here.
There you go. That is Elliot Friedman's Sportsnet, and Hockey Night in Canada on the Midday Show. We maybe need a deadline here. There is a deadline. It's called July 12th. That's the deadline. We're not making up fake deadlines. There's one deadline, and again, I think the deal will be fine. Now, Willie Donick had a take that I have not heard yet. And again, I will say this, even though Willie is the play-by-play voice of the team, I do not think that this is a team opinion. But it could be. But this is the first time I've heard this. And I did think it was interesting, and it is about giving all the money in the world to Philip Forsberg, because if you give him whatever, then you don't have any money to sign anybody else. Here's what Willie said today on the Midday Show.
The other thing that I'm sure is the Predators thinking of why they haven't blinked yet is they need 2 or 3 more impact players to contend. So they can't sign Philip Forsberg to a deal that makes it really hard for them because of what we've been saying for a long time. They have a very good young nucleus of players, but we're not sure they have that breakout guy that's going to be moving the needle in a huge way, making, an entry-level type of contract. They're getting a lot of mileage out of those guys collectively, but they don't have a young superstar coming up. So to add to their mix, they're going to need some money. They're going to need some cap space to address that. So if they're paying Philip Forsberg, let's just throw out a number, $9 million a year for 8 years, that's going to inhibit them some.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
That's true.
Again, I don't think that if you re-sign Philip Forsberg and you bring up one guy or bring in, some of these bums they've been bringing in here the last couple of years, like you're not a Luke Cunnin restructured free agent away from, or restricted free agent away from being able to compete. I mean, they got to go bring in some of these guys. Now, I'm weary about guys in contract years, but the Valery Nichushkin or whatever, I mean, he's pretty freaking good. So they're a couple dudes away. And the dudes that they need are probably in the $5 or $6 million range.
If not more.
So they've got what right now? $24 million in cap space, Ian?
I think around 24, 25, it sounds right. Yep.
Okay, so let's just say 24, and I'm sure somebody will correct us in the text line if we're wrong. 24 minus 9. So let's just give 9 for Forsberg.
15.
$15 million. So now that's what? That's really 2 or 3 $6 million contracts. Now, here's my problem with this. And it's not my problem with Willie's take, because I think Willie's take is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the Predators are thinking that or not, about, we need more than just Forsberg if we want to compete. Now, I don't think it's what they need is on the free agent market. I think what they need is they need a high-end player. Like, they need a high-end big boy forward that can go out there and win you a game or win you a series. And I think they need a top 4D, to really go. They need a top pair. So what they've done is they've broken those up over the years, and they need a top pair. Yossi and another good, really defensive defenseman that stays at home. They need that guy to go with Yossi, and that needs to be their number one pair. But they're going to need the money to be able to do that. And a lot of those guys aren't going to be available. So then you need picks or prospects, whatever. Well, then why are you paying $2 million to Jeremy Lauzon? I know.
Because they have to.
But this is my whole point about why I think Poyle does things that make no sense. And this is an example of that, which is $2 million. And last week when they signed it, everybody was like, well, it's only $2 million. Yes. But by our calculations, $9 million for Forsberg. And 24 minus 9 is 15. And we think they probably need 3 more guys that make $6 million each. Well, you got $15 million. Let's add $2 million. Now you got $17 million. Now you got to find $1 million more somewhere else, which is not hard to do. That's easy. You trade somebody, you trade somebody like Fabro for a bag of pucks, and then you've got that $6 million right now that you can go sign a legitimate top pair defenseman or a top 4 defenseman, a legitimate guy that can come in here. That makes sense. But then the moves that they make that surround that don't make any sense. So it's like, I agree with Willie's take that David Poyle maybe in theory thinks it, but he doesn't think it in actuality, because then he goes out and he makes moves that don't make any sense. If you're competitively rebuilding, you don't trade second-round picks for restricted free agents that aren't any good.
And it all goes back to that, because the Predators really, I don't think, had much of a choice but to pay Jeremy Lauzon, because you trade a second-round pick for a guy and you get, 10, 15 games of production out of him?
13 games.
13 games, and
And
your
we're
second-round
not
pick
allowed,
is out the door?
We're not allowed to judge anything that he did before he got to the Predators. Everybody will sit there and they'll say, well, yeah, like this is the line this is the Preds PR line, which is, how can you be upset about that? He only played 13 games. It's like, well,
not in his life.
He played other games, other places, and he's not good. Well, but he could one day become good. And I feel bad for those people that have to echo those parroting points because they're just so fake, and everybody knows it's fake. But that's the point, is the decisions don't make any sense. Like, Willie's take makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because re-signing Philip Forsberg doesn't make you better. It makes you the same.
And that's if he decides to play as hard as he played last year, which is questionable.
And it's better than the alternative of not having Philip Forsberg, and then you don't know who is going to fill in that hole. So signing Forsberg doesn't make you better. What makes you better is new high-end players. How do you pay those new high-end players? That's the question.
And all this stuff adds up. So if you pay Lauzon, which they did, and if you bring back Luke Cunnin, which you shouldn't, but all these restricted free agents, you're going to have to pay Trennan some money. So now Trennan's going to cost you probably $2 million, $3 million.
And it also
so you're
goes
gonna pay
back.
him, and you're going to have to pay all these guys, and now you don't have any money, and now you're not any good. Now you're the same as you were.
And it goes back even further to the Johansson and Duchesne contracts. That's $16 million that's tied up in 2 guys. And, of course, Duchesne did have a great year this past year.
Johansson played okay.
Johansson played okay. But that's still $16 million that's tied up in 2 guys that you don't really know what you can expect from them.
So I understand Willie's point about how you can't give Philip Forsberg, but here's my question.
You can't give him the world.
What's the difference between $8 and $9 million?
Well, to Forsberg,
No.
$1 million.
What's the difference to the team in $8 or $9 million? What's the difference? If the argument right now between the sides is between $8 and $9 million, which is what Elliot Friedman says it is, if it's between $8 and $9 million, what's the difference?
I just don't think it's between $8 and $9 million. I hear Elliot Friedman. I just think it's something. It's got to be more so like a no movement clause.
Has to be more than no move clause. I think so too.
I would agree too. I would agree too, because that's what common sense says. But that's what Elliot keeps saying.
Because if it was between $8 and $9 million, then
and we know where Elliot's getting his information.
It feels like at this point, whenever you're less than a month away, you just say, if you're the Predators, okay, fine, 9. That's easy.
Well, that's what I think Forsberg's waiting on them to do.
But don't you think they would have done that already? I hear Elliot Friedman saying it's between $8 and $9 million.
And where's Elliot getting his information from?
Poyle. I gotta think it's more than that.
I would agree. And I do wonder if that's what, Poyle's, or if that's what Forsberg's camp is arguing, is, okay, you can pay us 8 years, but who cares about the 8th year if we're shipped off for 5 of those years to somewhere we don't want to be? So why would I do that? I could sign 7 years and get a no movement clause, and then the Predators would say, well, I bet you can't do that or whatever. And I think it's going to be a mess. Let's get to your phone. 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Rob is up next on Philip Forsberg. Thank you for calling. What's up, Rob?
Hey, guys. I couldn't agree more with what you just said in and around Duchesne and Johansson have handcuffed us in the fact that they're both earning roughly $8 million a year, and Philip is, I'm just guesstimating 9.5, asking somewhere in there, and assigning him to that. How much is that tied up of the entire space? 30, 35, 40% of your entire space? It leaves no room for upward momentum, and it drives back to the point of what do you do to get that generational player? And we're right back where we are. We're right back to the start, which is a plan to keep people employed, but not a plan for us to hoist the cup. And it's very frustrating.
So I actually disagree with you on that, and I appreciate your call. And the reason why I disagree with you, I want to pick it up on the other side, is I don't think this is about job security. I do not think David Poile, the Forsberg thing, how many times have people called in or texted in and said that if Philip Forsberg walks, they're canceling their tickets, they're not watching the team, they don't believe in the team, they don't?
Countless.
Okay. I have a theory on that I want to get to that ties into that. I do just want to say this to that call. Matt Duchene scored 40 goals last year. Like, the idea of, oh, man, this Duchene contract's our problem. He scored 40 freaking goals last year.
And that's what I said last year. He played out of his mind, yes. But
no one's expecting it. But
was that the exception or the rule?
I'm just saying, though, to act like it's a complete albatross right now.
I'm not going to write it off, no.
I'm not. Right now, if you want to win, which they say they do, I don't think they can, but they say they want to win. If you want to win right now, you need Duchene on your team. But again, I don't think they can win right now, so that's the difference between me and them. Now, I do think Duchene will regress, and I think Forsberg will regress, and I'm worried about Johansson, and I'm worried about Yossi regressing a little bit, and I'm worried about the goalie.
Those are all fair concerns.
And I'm worried about all of it. But I do want to pick this up on the other side, and that is, again, the job security. Because everything that you all think about Forsberg, I've said is not much of a needle mover for me. I don't think it's a needle mover for them. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. It's Stillman and Company on 1025 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Motley Crue, Def Leppard, the Stadium Tour, a once-in-a-lifetime event with Poison and Joan Jett of the Blackhearts. June 30th, Nissan Stadium. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com or at the Nissan Stadium box office. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, the Stadium Tour.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've been getting more and more new vehicles in stock every day. The bad news is they go out as quick as they come in. So be sure to reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And as soon as it comes in, we can call you. We can even order a new vehicle to your exact wants and needs. Don't worry, we have more good news. We have a great way for you to get some extra cash for all your summer adventures. We're buying any and all used cars. We're offering top dollar for your vehicle. Reach out. We can start with an online video appraisal. Even more good news. With Newton FastPass, you can buy a car without ever leaving the pool. Really? You can buy your car from anywhere. Wherever you are, you can buy online. And on top of that, we'll deliver the car to you. Build your car or buy your car online in Newton today. Visit newtonnissan.com to learn more.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, listen, we all have cavities. But what's the best way to try and keep them from happening?
Cavities are like any other health condition. You don't really know you have one until it gets bad. Recently, I saw a patient for treatment that they had been putting off. Something that could have been simple to fix 6 months ago turned out to need a root canal and a crown. Postponing treatment costs more and takes time away from work.
Nobody wants a root canal, so you're right. Regular checkups are very important.
Well, we do things differently. I want to let people know that if they're afraid of pain or worried about the cost, they are not alone. Don't be embarrassed. We understand. Give us a call at 615-373-4488. That's KellyERice.com.
Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. If you don't have dental insurance, no problem. Be sure to join their membership club. Just visit KellyERice.com or call 615-373-4488 now to schedule your cleaning and checkup. You'll certainly be glad you did.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Saturday. The NASCAR stars of tomorrow take to the Nashville Superspeedway for the Tennessee Lottery 250 Xfinity Series race. Coverage begins at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
David said at his end-of-the-year press conference that he's got the full support of ownership. Fans obviously want to see success. What is it about David that you believe in to keep him in that position?
Well, he's certainly got the track record. He's a known quantity. He's been doing this. He's won more games than any other GM in history. We're executives. I've got a lot of expertise in healthcare. If you ask me a healthcare question, I'll tell you what to do, but I understand what I don't know about hockey and the ins and outs and long-term contracts and player assessments. And yeah, you have opinions as fans, but it's become particularly important in this situation where we've got 10 families with an ownership stake and 17 individuals that attend our ownership meetings. Everyone has opinions. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't hire any of them, with all due respect, to be my general manager. I mean, we've come to appreciate that while we all have opinions, David's the hockey expert in the room. And I want him to hear our opinions. But at the end of the day, he's got to make those calls, and he's got to make those decisions. And it's not something that we should be doing, or even if we could.
That was Herb Fritch, the team chairman, a.k.a. the owner, today on David Boyle. That sounded like a vote of confidence, and not the dreaded vote of confidence, but the legitimate vote of confidence. So, for every single person that texts our show, calls our show, whatever's our show, and says, I'm giving up my tickets if they don't re-sign Philip Forsberg, I'm not sure that matters. I mean, I truly believe, after having talked to Herb Fritch today, and I like Herb Fritch, but I am convinced after talking to Herb Fritch today that if David Poile blows this, it's not going to affect his job status whatsoever. I mean, I am convinced after the conversation I had today that, this team would almost have to bottom out. And even then, they may not fire him. So, for everybody out there that's looking at Poile, we keep talking about...
That's a bold assumption.
I'm just telling you what I think.
Because the team hasn't bottomed out under his watch.
No, I'm just telling you what I think after having the conversation I had. And so when we sit here and we talk about how, well, if Poile, he has to re-sign Forsberg, because if he doesn't re-sign Forsberg, people are going to go bananas and they can't have that negativity. I'm not sure he has to operate like that. Because it doesn't matter if every fan in town thinks you stink. If the one guy who's in charge thinks you don't stink, then it doesn't matter. And that's where it is right now. 87% of the fans in the Adam Vingan poll, 87% of the fans don't have optimism in David Poile taking this team back to Stanley Cup contention. 13% do. And I hate to say this, but I think just based off of what Herb Fritz said right there, what I felt like I was hearing from him today, I think he's one of the 13%. And so he can blow this, and we'll say, oh, my God, Boyle will just get eviscerated if he ends up not re-signing Philip Forsberg, which might be true. But other than us taking a loaded bank of phone calls for a day, nothing's going to happen. So for everybody out there that's like, this is what I'm judging him on, that's not, I don't think, what they're judging him on.
But I think overall what they're judging him on, or their number one focus as owners, is money. So maybe it's not the hockey moves. Maybe they don't know the difference between, and I don't want to assume their hockey knowledge, but maybe they don't see the Jeremy Lauzon trade as a bad trade. Maybe they don't see not signing Philip Forsberg as fumbling the bag because they're not hockey people, but they're business people. Herb Fritz is not a dumb guy. He understands how to run a business. So maybe it takes ticket sales plummeting or profits plummeting for them to make a change, because that's where you feel the effect of the fan base. When people stop buying in, then they start to see a difference. Once it starts to affect the money talks now.
I don't think it does around here. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you what I think. I do not think that matters.
Money doesn't matter to people who are running a business.
I do not think that if the Predators, let's just throw this out there. Let's say they don't re-sign Forsberg, and all the people that have threatened to cancel their tickets.
Which we'll see if that happens or not.
Right. The people who have threatened to cancel their tickets actually cancel their tickets. And then this team starts hurting. First of all, the way the TV contracts work out, they're going to make plenty of money either way. Secondly, and they made a boatload of money this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to make money off the TV contracts because it doesn't matter if they have one fan in the building or if they have 20,000 fans. It doesn't make a difference. I would agree. They want to make more money. But Herb Fritz is selling this business anyways. I mean, if you've made $3 billion.
Okay, Herb Fritz and Haslam.
And you were selling this business and you believed in the guy, this is what I'm going to tell you. This is what I think is going to happen. If they don't re-sign Forsberg, the team's not going to be very good. And if the team's not very good, they're not going to win many games, which most people would say that would be what leads to a GM change or a coach change. Maybe a coach change if we're lucky, but probably not. It's not going to lead to a GM change. They will look at this as, David took us to the playoffs 8 years in a row. And so now, just like all things, it's cyclical. It was cyclical for Chicago. It was cyclical for San Jose when they were good. It's cyclical for Pittsburgh, and they've come back. And so now we're down. And so David will be the one who gets us out of this. That's what will happen. Convinced of it. I'm telling you, I don't think any of this matters. I think David is the GM, as long as Herb's the owner.
Well, Herb's the owner for 3 more years. So what happens then?
Well, who cares about 3 years from now? I mean, 3 years from now is David will be 76 years old. So,
okay.
I mean, at which point, how long is he going to do this for?
Well, if he's 73 now, what's the difference between 73 and 76?
I would tell you that it is time, but they will not. They told us today it's not time. So there you go. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is the vote of confidence from the athletic director who says, I have every bit of belief in our coach who is doing a great job at Auburn. Final score, Mississippi State 42, Auburn 28. Coach fired. Maybe that's what it is.
It could be.
I doubt it. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com.
One texter texts in and says, what are you talking about, Jared? But you guaranteed Forsberg is 100% back.
I think he's 100% back. To answer your question, I think he's 100% back. Just like I think the Titans aren't going to win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill. Just because I think it doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it. Because you don't think that. You, the fans. You don't think it's 100%. You all talk about this all the time. And so that's why we're talking about the other angles of it. What do I think? I think you can't win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill. I think David Poyle needs to go. I think Philip Forsberg is 100% coming back. Give me another thing to think about. What's another thing to think about?
I don't know. Soros?
I think that he's a good goalie, but he's not an unbelievable, spectacular goalie. But that doesn't mean that he can't be some of you probably think he is an unbelievable, spectacular goalie. What's next?
Michael texts in and says, Poyle sounds like he feels entitled to Forsberg getting a deal done because he chose to keep him at the deadline and offered 8 years, but that's not how that works.
I didn't get that vibe. Did you get that vibe?
No.
I didn't get that vibe.
I wouldn't feel a sense of entitlement, but I do feel a certain sense of, I don't know if it's because I feel like he's going to come back. So I don't know if I just feel that sense from the Predators front office as well, that they feel a sense of confidence. And I don't know if I feel that because the coach said he feels confident, and the general manager also said he feels confident and also nervous. So that's kind of strange there. But I feel confident that he will come back. So I don't know if I'm projecting that on the front office as well.
Do you guys?
I just think.
Do you guys feel like that Poyle and the organization is expecting some type of hometown discount?
I think they're expecting Forsberg to cave. This goes back to the midday show discussion. Who's going to blink first? And if I had to guess, it would be the team. But the team, I think, is hoping that Forsberg blinks first. And I don't think he's going to. And, they have to be careful about what they say here. And this is why I think they talk about how they want to have him back and they wish they had the deal done. And they're working through it and they're optimistic. But because, I think he wants to be here. And I think he wants to be here because he gets the 8th year. And it's tax-free, and he likes it here, and his wife or fiance or whatever likes it here, and all of that. So it's like, why move? Like, why deal with the new team and the new coach and the new expectations and the new lifestyle when I like it here and my friends live here and my life is here and my house is here and my dog is here and I like it all here? I do think that if you say the wrong thing or if you drag your feet at the wrong time, there is a level where you get to it where somebody in the room says, screw you. And that I've seen that before in sports where it's like, gosh, I wish I was still in Minnesota. Why are you not in Minnesota anymore? Well, we got into an argument and all of a sudden I said, screw you, and enjoy Philadelphia, A.J. Brown. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll just get back to your phone. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Superspeedway
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mainly clear and mild as we head through the overnight tonight as temperatures drop to the low to mid 70s. On our way to the low 90s once again for Friday. Look for mainly sunny skies. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
We're saluting 4 more of our teammates at Cromwell Media this month. Cindy Johns in sales has been here 20 years. Lakin King, who handles all our commercial logs, is enjoying 13 years. Operations Manager Ace Swartz is toasting 12 years with us. And Chase McCabe, Program Director for our Sportstalk stations, chalks up 10 years. That's 55 years of combined experience with our company. There's a reason for that tenure. We value our employees and do our very best to create a great work experience. Check us out at together@cromwellmedia.com.
We here at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game are looking for our next great executive producer. Hey, it's Chase McCabe, the program director. If you think that's you and you think that you have the experience, the drive, and of course you share that love of sports, send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
You mentioned the Forsberg situation. Has it been encouraging to you that he's been pretty visible here in Nashville this offseason? Do you read anything into that at all? Or?
If I'm reading anything into it, it's positive, and everything is positive in the conversations. It's just that we don't have a deal done, and I remain optimistic. There's going to be a deadline here. We get lots done oftentimes when there's a deadline, but it's am I concerned? Absolutely. I mean, it would have been very good if we could have had this done a lot earlier. Because there's certain things that you would do or could do if Philip was signed, and there's certain things that you can't do. And now we're in a situation where we're formulating all sorts of different plans because we have to be ready for either scenario. So it's not where I want to be, and I would hope that if there's going to be resolved, that it can be resolved. But hey, we got to prepare for whatever now.
There you go. That was David Poyle. By the way, when you put Philip Forsberg into Google, the first news topic that comes up is from Sportsnet. Predators offer Philip Forsberg 8-year contract. Quote, the Predators have made a pitch to forward Philip Forsberg to stick around long-term with the club. General manager David Poyle said Thursday he has offered the pending unrestricted free agent an 8-year contract.
That's not really a surprise.
No duh.
It'd be more newsworthy if he offered Philip Forsberg like a 4-year contract.
Yeah, if they said they wouldn't offer Philip Forsberg an 8-year contract, then that would be some tea. But this, I mean, come on now. According to this article, it's disappointing. I'm sure they're disappointed because they feel we should be offering something different. We feel we're in a good spot. We just got to keep working to get this done. What the hell does that mean? We got to keep working. We got to keep negotiating? I
guess, because they haven't put pen to paper yet. So, yeah, I guess there's still negotiating to do.
Phones, what do we have?
One texter texts in and says the only time the Predators will ever bottom out and get lottery draft picks is if UC Saros and Duchesne is hurt for the year.
So I don't think it's that tough. I think if Forsberg doesn't come back. I mean, here's the question I do wonder about if Forsberg doesn't come back. Yes, I hear you, caller. Jared, you said 100%. Yes, and I'm 100%. He's coming back. What would the fan morale be if that, and not to say, I told you today that I think what Herb Fritch was telling us is that, David's the guy. So even if they screw this up, to all the fans out there that, even though they don't like David right now and they probably aren't inspired by this coach, but the fans that call this show and tell us, if you don't re-sign Forsberg, I'm giving back my tickets. If you're that guy, which I don't think that guy exists, but that's okay. The guy who will say they will do it exists. The guy who will actually do it, I'm not convinced of exists. But, I think you're stuck with David. If Forsberg doesn't come back, the morale of the team, the morale of the fans, the morale of the city as far as hockey is concerned, it'll be so bad. And then the talent level on this team will probably be so bad without him that honestly, they probably won't be very good anyways. And so no matter what they try to do, they'll lose games, and then they'll fire the coach, and they'll get a high pick. And then David will be stuck with him because, they like him.
I mean, you ask what the fan reaction will be?
Oh, it'll be devastation.
Uninspired. That's what I think it'll be. Is, okay, so we don't really know exactly where the direction is. You're, arguably your most popular player just walked, didn't get a new contract. You got Yossi, you got Duchesne, you got Johansson.
Well, you're subtracting 40 goals off your team.
Yes.
And that is...
And you're not replacing it with anything else. You're not replacing it with a prospect. You're not replacing it with a pick. You're not replacing it with anything other than more cap space.
If this guy is not on the team next year, they will stink. Because they kind of stunk with him. So without him, they're definitely going to stink. And even if they sign him, they might stink because he might not play as well as he played before.
But there's a difference between stinking and not being able to compete for the cup.
No, they stunk at the end of this year. At the end of this season, that last month, they stunk. Like where the wins were overtime 1-0 against crap San Jose. They stunk. I mean, that was the thing that I could not get over was everybody, these are good teams, Jared. And I'm like, yeah, and they're getting blown out by them. And then they're winning in overtime against San Jose. They're getting beat 4-0 by Edmonton. And then they have to hold on for the last shot against Chicago. Yeah, they barely got by the bad teams, and they were getting smoked by the good teams at the end of the season. That's what happened. This team stunk.
But the ability is there.
No, they stunk. At the end of the year, they freaking stunk.
I hear you.
And so, to me, as far as what I look at this team, if he's not on this team, they stink. Like, they stink if he's not on this team. I'm convinced of it. Because this team, it's weird. The 2 years that they've had in a row are the opposite, where they were awful at the beginning of 2021. And then they turned it around somehow, and I think they beat up on some bad teams, and they, got that kick in the bum from Jeannot and Carrier and all those guys, and Soros played out of his mind, and they ended up making the playoffs. And they were competitive in those playoffs. Even though they were never going to win that series, they at least, it was a series. Then this year, they were freaking competitive at the beginning of the year. I mean, they beat Colorado here the week before the Titans played the Bengals, and I was like, wow, this team might actually be good. And then after they did that, when the game started to matter more, they, in the last month, started playing all these good teams, and they got blown out in almost every game. They got blown out by St. Louis. They got blown out by Tampa. They got blown out by Edmonton. They got blown out by everybody except for some miraculous shootout win against Colorado the last week of the year, which I don't even understand how it happened. They blow the 4-goal lead against horrendous Arizona. They're beating San Jose in overtime. I mean, it was awful. The one game that they won was against Calgary on like the back end of a back-to-back with a backup goalie, and that might have been overtime too. Or shootout or something. Like, it was awful. And so, I don't know, maybe this year they start off stinking and then they pick it up midway through the year because they keep zigging and zagging and doing all these things. But I'll tell you right now, if he's not on that team, they're good.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
What else we got?
Jack from Nashville texts in and says, this situation has been lose-lose from the start. If we traded Philip Forsberg at the deadline, the fan base would have been pissed. Now we're going to overpay him, and halfway through his contract, the fans are going to want him out.
Not from the start. It was lose-lose.
After the trade deadline.
After they lost to Colorado. Because if they keep him and they win the cup, then you won. And even though they were never going to win the cup, there was always that belief that, we can, and that went away the second they lost to Colorado. But they could have traded him away. And for the texter that says, the fan base would have revolted if they had traded Philip Forsberg. If they had traded him going into the season, the fan base would not have revolted. They would have said, he was a good player, and what's that mean for this team? But they would have accepted that this is part of the competitive rebuild, and they would have ultimately moved on. If they had traded him at the deadline, they would have accepted it. It would have been the same as the A.J. Brown trade. It would have been, oh, my God, but he's so good, but you couldn't re-sign him, and you get something in return, and the truth is, people were mad about the A.J. Brown trade for one day. 1 whole day.
But I also think that a lot of people who were mad about the A.J. Brown trade started to be more mad at A.J. rather than the trade itself because of how A.J. acted.
Talk to Joe Rexroad with that take?
Well, no, Joe's still very much so in the camp of that was a stupid move.
I know, but he's not still worked up about it.
If you bring it up, he will be.
But again, that's like the texter's insinuating that the fans would have been so mad if they had traded him that they would have been.
I think they would have been.
They'd have gotten over it.
Well, of course they would have gotten over it, but they would have been mad.
Especially because this is the fan base that will listen when they're told that, hey, Cody Glass might be a good player.
Well, what else are they supposed to believe?
The truth.
When the coach and the general manager and the people at the front are talking about how good he's supposed to be,
yes.
They're fans. They are fans.
I know. But
they're allowed to be optimistic and irrational.
You're allowed to be optimistic, but at some point when somebody keeps telling you the same crap over and over again, you got to stop listening.
And I think that a lot of people are getting fed up.
I think they are there.
I think it's catching up.
But it would have been okay if they had traded Forsberg because they would have gotten a freaking haul. They would have gotten picks. They would have gotten prospects. They would have gotten it all, and they could have sold it. But they didn't because they wouldn't have made the playoffs if they hadn't traded them, and then people probably would have been mad there. But again, I think they would have been mad for 1 day. For 1 day. But now
it would have been more than
now
that,
if they don't bring him back, like they are up a creek. 615-737-1025. So the whole brass talked today. Sean Henry talked today. David Poyle talked today. Herb Fritch talked today. Governor Haslam talked today. I'm going to say this. The least interesting element of all of that's, to me, I want to get to that next. Right here, Stillman and Company on ESPN 1025 The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, sounds win.
We talk The Game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Trading in or selling your car, truck, or SUV? WeBuyAnyCar.com takes the hassle out of selling in just 3 easy steps. 1. Get your free online valuation. 2. Drive to your local car buying center. And 3. Walk out with your check in as little as 30 minutes. So don't wait. Get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at WeBuyAnyCar.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, this killer offer has been extended through July 2nd. Our most aggressive offer of the year continues, but won't be extended again. It's not just on engagement rings. It's earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 eternity band comes out to just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry is also included in this amazing offer. Now through July 2nd at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit.
Summer heat is here. How is your air conditioner holding up? Costs are rising everywhere. Grocery bills, gas bills, utility bills, you name it, up, up, up. Is your AC old, inefficient, costing more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months. No interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. All new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com.
As in all human conflict, adults fight and children suffer. Today, 7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need safety in school. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF on the ground in Ukraine. We won't stop until every child is safe. UNICEFUSA.org/action. 7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF. UNICEFUSA.org/action.
God, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Today, the Predators brass met with the media. It was very weird. It felt like media day at the All-Star Game, where each person had their own little individual podium, or media day at the Super Bowl, where each person had their own little podium, and you went from podium to podium. So it was inside this ballroom at the arena, and they had one, Preds backdrop in one corner. They had another Preds backdrop in another corner. They had another Preds backdrop in another corner, and then they had a bunch of writers who were working at the other corner, right? And I thought this was going to be a really small media gathering, because that's what I was told, but everybody was there. So
interesting.
They started off by telling us that they were sorry that the word leaked out last week and that no paperwork had been signed and no pen to paper and no nothing. But I guess they felt like they had to talk since the cat was out of the bag. And when that happened, they were like, Herb Fritz will be over in this corner. Governor Haslam will be over in this corner, and Sean Henry and David Poyle will be over here. Well, I started seeing where I went right to the Herb Fritz corner. Because, hate to say it, he owns a team now. The things I can't, he owns them now. The Governor Haslam, a lot of people went over to because he's going to own the team. And then.
That's the newsy item.
The Sean and David stuff. I mean, I know people aren't going to listen to me when I say I like David. I do like David. I just don't like him as the general manager of my team. And I like Sean. But, I mean, to me, when the owners are talking, it's the owners. You know what I mean? So I went to Herb Fritz, and that's where I asked him about David Poyle, and, he affirmed his support for him and everything else. Now, I did ask this question, and then I went over to Governor Haslam, and I asked one question. I stayed there for about 5 minutes, and it almost hit me how little I cared about Governor Haslam. Now, I asked him a question about how, politics are way more tribal than they were even when he was governor, which was 6 years ago. I mean, it's so tribal now. It's not just I like my side and disagree with your side. It's I like my side and I hate your side. And because you're on that side, I hate you. That's what politics has become. It's really vicious. And so a sports team is not that. And I asked him kind of about how do you manage that when everybody knows what your opinions were before and now it's way more. And he had a good political answer about it, about the fact that sports are to bring everybody together. And yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday about how they'd handle, this setting. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really worried about Governor Haslam. I think he's used to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's been there before.
And he was, full politician over in the corner. And he was doing a good job.
Good.
But I was there for about 5 minutes or whatever. But again, the point was, I'm not sure I really cared about it. And that's crazy because he's the guy buying the Nashville Predators. And I just got to tell you, I have zero qualms. I shouldn't say that. I mean, his brother's such a train wreck in Cleveland that truly bothers me. But other
everything
than
that I have heard is he is polar opposite of his brother.
Well, my brother and I are very different too. That's the only qualm I have is that, his brother is running his sports team and it's an unmitigated disaster. Other than that, which, again, that's his brother's team. That's not his team. Other than that, I'm not worried about his finances. He's got the money. I'm not worried about him being in tune with the team. I think he cares. I'm not worried about him being able to pull the trigger on a general manager or a coach who's not getting the job done. I don't know. I asked Herb Fritch today, why sell the team at this point? Here's what Herb Fritch said.
Herb, I got to ask you, why go through this? Why sell the team or sell your shares of the team at this point to Governor Haslam?
You know, it kind of becomes an estate planning process. I'll contrast that I was at the Board of Governors meeting last Thursday, sitting in the Ottawa seat. Eugene Melnick passed away. Sitting in the Ottawa seat at the Board of Governors meeting is an attorney that's managing his estate. I thought it was important enough to get the right person to succeed me for the stability of the franchise, the credibility of it, that it could take 2-3 years to find the right person. So I started 6 months ago. I told people making a short list, 3 people I called. Bill was on the list and expressed some interest, so I thought this is kind of a unique opportunity. We ought to pursue it, and I've become more and more convinced over the 6 months we've worked on this that Bill's the right guy, and I feel very good about the transition and the decision.
Okay, now I haven't vetted him as much as Herb Fritch has. I do too. I mean, I know this is going to sound crazy, but like yesterday when they said on the midday show that they were going to have Governor Haslam today, and I was like, that's the guy I have the least amount of questions for. Maybe I'm naive, but I have zero qualms here. I think it'll be fine. Do I think he'll be a great owner? I have no idea. You know, do I think he will know how to find the right hockey guys? Do I think he'll have the right temperament for the job? Do those things? I don't know. But you're not going to find those things out today. You're not going to go up to a press conference and say, hey, so do you have a good temperament when it comes to the team losing? How will you handle firing general managers? Like, they're not going to tell you anything, especially a politician who's going to sit there and tell you, the whole key to running a great operation is having everybody do their best and I'm not saying that he said that, but I'm just saying that's what politicians say. That I'm not worried about. Maybe it's because he's going to be the owner 3 years from now. Maybe
it's a gradual process.
Because, the decisions that I care about, I don't want to wait 3 years for this team to be good. That being said, I'm willing to rebuild. But if Herb Fritch knows he's going to own the team for only 3 more years and he wants to win, then that's where you cash in and go for it. So then you need to know, David Poyle, how are you going to go about trying to get this team competitive right away? And you got your big free agent signing that you got to work on. That matters to me. Herb Fritch, why do you love this guy so much? That matters to me. But the Governor Haslam element of this, I'm not going to say I'm completely uninterested by it, because the whole process of this, who's going to own the team, like, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But the reality of, this guy is going to own the team, and how should we feel about it? I feel fine.
Well, I think the location security, because I think a lot of Predators fans might have a little bit of team ultimately being acquired, new chairman being, the former governor of Tennessee, gives everyone kind of that security that the team's not going anywhere. It's a local guy who understands the people.
So that's so funny. I was talking to somebody today. And I was like, I got, Friday people were texting in and calling in about what if he moves the team. And I was like, this isn't what it was 15 years ago. This team's not moving. There would be no reason, even if you got a billionaire from Quebec City. And how long have they been trying to get a team for, Ian?
I mean, I don't know, 20-something years probably.
Well, they lost the Avalanche, right?
Quebec went to Colorado, that's right.
Yeah, so
that was in the 90s.
Ever since then,
93 or 4.
They've wanted. Like, I mean, they have been going for a team. Like when Vegas got their team, the talk was there was going to be 2 teams, and it was going to be Quebec City and Vegas. That's how long this is, at least in my vantage point. So if a billionaire from Quebec bought this team, they still wouldn't move. They make too much money. If you own the Predators, you get the money from the building. If you get the money from the building,
that building
you get
rakes in
every
cash.
single concert. You're Nashville, Tennessee. You get every concert. So you're not going to move this team. And it's funny because whenever you think of Herb Fritch, and I will never turn on Herb Fritch when it comes to, Herb Fritch let David Poyle overstay his welcome by about 3 or 4 years or however long it's going to end up being. You're not going to hear me turn on Herb Fritch because Herb Fritch saved this hockey club. But this whole thing about the team, they were never going to move. They could have sold to anybody. They could have sold to Warren Buffett, and he wouldn't have moved them. They could have sold to Stan Kroenke, and he wouldn't have moved them.
I wouldn't speak so fast.
Well, he hadn't moved the Avalanche.
Well,
so
he moved another team.
But that building sucked. And that city wasn't Nashville, Tennessee, bringing through concerts that have the kind of cachet that Nashville has and owning the building the way that the Predators don't officially own the building, but they essentially do. Like, that is, you don't move that investment. So that was never going to happen. But again, it's funny. When you watch the news tonight, if you watch the news and you watch the sportscast they do, or you watch, read a lot of these articles there, Governor Haslam says, and to me, he's the least interesting element of all of this. Now, he may be the most powerful because long-term he's going to own the team. But on the short term, I mean, the guy's obviously, you don't even need to vet him. Because if you're running for governor, every skeleton that would be in your closet's already come out anyways. So there's not even really a huge process there. So for me, that was just kind of my take on Governor Haslam. I think he'll do a good job. I think he's fine. We'll see, the little minutia elements. But as far as, how do you feel about this? Me, thumbs up. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-1025. Herb Fritch made it clear. The Predators are going to sink, swim, or tread water with David Poyle. And it will be with David Poyle. Why, there's one thing that really bothers me. We'll get to that coming up next. Right here on Stillman and Company on 102.5 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month. And inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym. It was absolutely worth its weight in gold, so I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
615-249-4024. QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
David said at his end-of-the-year press conference that he's got the full support of ownership. Fans obviously want to see success. What is it about David that you believe in to keep him in that position?
Well, he's certainly got the track record. He's a known quantity. He's been doing this. He's won more games than any other GM in history. We're executives. I've got a lot of expertise in healthcare. If you ask me a healthcare question, I'll tell you what to do, but I understand what I don't know about hockey and the ins and outs and long-term contracts and player assessments. And yeah, you have opinions as fans, but it's become particularly important in this situation where we've got 10 families with an ownership stake and 17 individuals that attend our ownership meetings. Everyone has opinions. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't hire any of them, with all due respect, to be my general manager. I mean, we've come to appreciate that while we all have opinions, David's the hockey expert in the room. And I want him to hear our opinions. But at the end of the day, he's got to make those calls and he's got to make those decisions. And it's not something that we should be doing, or even if we could.
So there you go. David Poile is the general manager. David Poile is going to be the general manager. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but Adam Vingan there was a story in the Tennessean that Adam Vingan sent me a couple months ago from, I think, 2018. And he didn't write it, but in it, Tom Sigerin, who was then chairman, and is still one of the owners of the team, and I love Tom Sigerin. But Tom Sigerin said, and I paraphrase, that basically David is going to be the general manager of the Predators for as long as David wants to be the general manager of the Predators, which I thought that was just kind of like pump-up talk, right? Like that was just, hey, this is David's job as long as he wants it. Just like Alabama is Nick Saban's job as long as Nick Saban wants it. Win 3 games 3 years in a row, Nick, it ain't your job. They will get a new football coach at Alabama. That's what I thought it meant. Then after talking to Herb Fritch today and hearing that, I'm kind of convinced that that's what it is. So there are 3 options here as far as I'm concerned with the future of the Predators that is undoubtedly going to be led by David Poile, no ifs, ands, or buts. They can either sink, they can swim, or they can tread water. I'm okay with 2 of the 3 options. I'm okay with this team absolutely sinking and this team being unwatchable and Bally Sports being upset about how few Predators fans are subscribing to Bally Sports Plus next year, and this team getting a lottery pick, and this team looking at their assets saying, maybe it's time to take 20 cents on the dollar on Johansson, move off of him, retain some salary, get some picks, probably trade Duchesne because this team's not very good. And assume that if this team's going to sink, Forsberg probably doesn't come back, which is why I don't think it's all that likely that they'll sink. But again, maybe you trade the goalie and then you put the kid in there, whatever. That I'm okay with, because that allows you to reset for the future. And by the time you get to the future, Herb Fritch will not be the owner of this team anymore. Bill Haslam will be the owner of this team, and David Poyle will not be the general manager anymore. The swimming, I'm totally cool with. If this team decides that all of a sudden they want to get good and they want to start competing with Colorado, and they want to compete with Edmonton, and they want to compete with Calgary, and they want to compete with St. Louis and Minnesota, and I mean compete, where we're looking at 6 and 7 game series around here, I will take that. Then the third thing is the tread water, which would be to make the playoffs or to be the last team to not make the playoffs, have borderline interesting seasons, although I don't consider fighting for the playoffs to be interesting. People around here don't want to almost win. And so if they tread water, which I feel like they've really been doing ever since they fired Laviolette, I just think they're going to stay in the same spot over and over and over again. That's almost why there's a part of me, even though I'm 100% convinced that Philip Forsberg's coming back, that is rooting for him to not come back. Because if he doesn't come back, the chances of this team making the playoffs, I would say,
Incredibly
take a
slim.
humongous shot. And then if they don't make the playoffs, they get some lottery picks. And then maybe if they don't get Forsberg as somebody in the Athletic wrote after the season, this will be what starts a rebuild. All of those things. They have 3 choices: sink, swim, tread water. Guess what I think is going to happen?
Tread water.
And that's the one I'm not okay with.
Well, they've already said sinking is not an option.
Nope.
At least not intentionally sinking. Swimming seems like a little far-fetched to me at this point. The way that the team has been playing, swimming as in competing for the cup doesn't seem very likely.
We all have that friend, and I may be that friend. We all have that friend that is like, I am going to lose weight. And then you see that friend 2 weeks later, and they are just knocking down nachos and pizza and French fries. And it's like, do you really want that? Like, do you really, really want that? Because when it comes to the Predators, it's like, we want to win the Stanley Cup. Well, so does everybody. But what are you doing to get there? Well, we believe in our guy. Okay? How many cups does that guy have? 0. Okay? What about the coach? What's Hines' record? I think it's like 4-17 or something like that in the playoffs. He's never won a postseason series. Okay? And what young players do you have come to the pipeline that are going to be high-end superstar caliber players like all of the good teams have? Nobody.
Not nobody.
No, none of these guys are going to be high-end superstars.
How do you know that?
Any of these guys going to be Cale Makar?
I don't
Steven
know.
Stamkos?
I don't know that.
No, yes, none of them. None of them. All of those guys, even if they're not the first overall pick, those guys immediately. That's where I think like the Tolvanen hype, 4-15 for Hines. That's where the Tolvanen hype, I think, kind of took off in 2018 was they drafted this kid in the first round. Now, a lot of people had him ranked highly, but he ended up falling down the draft boards. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he went nuts in that Russian league and in the Olympics, and it was like, holy crap, he might be great. But once this guy starts playing, that's when you can tell. So if you've got a guy that they're sticking down in the minors, if you've got a high-end player, they don't stay in the minors. All these guys that are really, really, really good players, they start playing at 18. Like, they are in. Connor McDavid, first overall pick, in. Jack Eichel, in. You don't send great players to the minor leagues. So when they have these guys down in the minor leagues, they may be good, they may be okay players, but they're not going to be the high-end carry-you players. And that's the problem. They don't have any of those guys. They don't have any path to getting those guys. And so it's going to be a bunch of Tanner Chenots and trying to hope that one of these guys pops through. But for every guy that didn't play well this year that will play well next year, there's going to be a guy that played well this year that's not going to play well.
What is
and
your
that's
problem?
why you keep treading water.
What is your problem with Tanner Jeannot?
I mean, I think Tanner Jeannot is a bottom 6 forward. Like, you don't put him on your first line. You don't put him on your second line.
I know what bottom 6 means.
And so he's a checker. You don't win cups because of checkers. You don't win divisions because of checkers. He's a checker. He's a good player. Like Trennan. Trennan's a good player.
Yeah.
I like Trennan. But you don't win because of Trennan. He's a good player.
Yeah.
But he's a checker. And you don't win because of checking. I mean, look at Colorado. They have one of the dirtiest players in the league.
You win because of goals.
They have one of the dirtiest players in the league in Nazem Kadri. But he's a top 6 forward. He plays on power play unit. These guys, the checkers. That you don't win with those guys.
Tanner Jeannot also scores goals.
How many goals did Tanner Jeannot have in the playoffs this year?
I don't know how many he had in the playoffs.
How many goals did he have in the playoffs last year?
I don't know.
I am going to make the assumption that he had 0 in both. And this is the Arvidsson theory. That is, when everybody starts going 100 miles an hour, then the guys that are pure effort guys, that play hard on every possession, that make you work for it, that check you into the boards, that all of those things, they get overtaken by the talented guys who in November and December are smoking cigarettes on their smoke break. And that's, when you go 2 playoffs and don't score, have you looked it up?
It's loading.
I mean, I don't think he scored a goal in 2 playoffs.
It doesn't appear so.
You know what I mean? Like, how long did it take Cale Makar to get on the board against the Predators in the playoffs this year? Like 12 seconds. So that's, again, that's the problem, is that around here, everybody who does something in October gets overvalued. And that's where I'm sitting here saying, like, no, like, we need guys when it comes to looking at what you want. If you guys want to swim, or if you guys want to build a team that can swim, you need the high-end, good young players. This is what's happened. The Predators went for it in 2018 and 2019, and they didn't get it. And now they're paying the credit card bill. But what a lot of teams do when they start to pay the credit card bill is they start to sell off assets in order to put down a payment to help them get out of debt and build for the future. What the Predators are doing is they're taking on more debt. It's almost like if you were to be in credit card debt, so then you took out another credit card to pay off your credit card debt. That's what they're doing. And where does that leave you? In debt. That's where they are. And that's why, they have 3 choices. And I'm cool. I'm cool with either one. If they want to take out the credit cards and pay off the debt there and somehow it gets them to the Stanley Cup, great. Don't think that's very likely. If they want to take out the credit card and they want to say, you know what, we got to start making some moves. We got to bring it down a notch, and I mean a serious notch. And we got to sell off on Saros, who's probably at his peak right now, and sell off at Jeannot, who's probably at his peak right now, and sell off on Duchesne, who had 40 goals, and maybe somebody will take him and get picks and do these things. It's going to be painful, but I would prefer to do that.
And that's a bold move to make.
Yeah.
It's not a fun or popular move to make on any of those guys.
Though I do think it would be popular if they went in that direction. Now, popular is relative. I don't think they're going to be selling tickets if they make those moves.
Yeah.
But I do think that the fans as a whole will be okay with it. What was the Adam Vingan poll? Did it say 63% said they'd be cool with picking first in the draft? A full-blown rebuild if it meant picking first once in the draft. And I want to say it was the 60+% range. I mean, that is the popular opinion around here. But what they're doing right now is the same.
And say they're all for a rebuild, and then when it actually happens, it's not very fun. But there is another side of a rebuild, and that's getting better. That's winning cups.
That's the midday show argument, which is, will you people be around? Will you guys promise to go to all the games if they decide to rebuild?
Well, I'm not asking for people to buy tickets and to prove that they're going to go to games. I'm not asking
either.
for that.
That's what happens when you don't win, is people don't go. But sometimes you have to, not be good for a little bit in order to be good for the long haul. But again, those are the choices. And I just feel like they're just treading water. 615-737-1025. What are your phones next? 615-737-1025 right here. It is Stillman and Company on 1025 The Game.
Hi, I'm Jussi Saros. And this is Nashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Jussi Saros there.
Unreal. You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025 The Game.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan South. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've been getting more and more new vehicles in stock every day. The bad news is they go out as quick as they come in. So be sure to reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And as soon as it comes in, we can call you. We can even order a new vehicle to your exact wants and needs. Don't worry, we have more good news. We have a great way for you to get some extra cash for all your summer adventures. We're buying any and all used cars. We're offering top dollar for your vehicle. Reach out. We can start with an online video appraisal. Even more good news. With Newton Fast Pass, you can buy a car without ever leaving the pool. Really? You can buy your car from anywhere. Wherever you are, you can buy online. And on top of that, we'll deliver the car to you. Build your car or buy your car online in Newton today. Visit NewtonNissanSouth.com to learn more.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
It's the ultimate celebration of one of the greatest bands ever. The Nashville Symphony performs Winborn's The Music of Queen, featuring conductor Brent Havens and vocalist Justin Sargent. June 26th at Ascend Amphitheater. A night filled with the music of Queen, performed as you've never heard it before. Get tickets now at NashvilleSymphony.org. Visit WinbornMusic.com.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stone Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
That is clearly plan A. We're putting all of our efforts right now in this next month or so into executing on that. The discussions with Philip during your discussions with Philip after the playoffs, all point to one. Point to stay there. But we have clearly conveyed that we want him, and he's a huge part of that.
But I realize that he's earned that right to become a free agent, and we're just going to have to work to that. Without getting into too much detail, I would hope that you would think and believe that we have plan B, C, D if this was not to work. But for today, and for the next month, or as long as it takes, we're going to concentrate on getting Philip signed.
I hope you would believe that we got plans B, C, and D.
April in Portland texts in about Philip Forsberg and says, I love Forsberg, but I'm fine with the Preds moving on if he's being unreasonable. I don't want another handcuff contract. A fan is a fan no matter what. I will continue to renew my season tickets as long as the price is reasonable, but if they continue to get more expensive and if the Preds get worse, we will have to let them go.
Okay, so that's one of the things that doesn't get discussed around here. And it is the fact of the matter is that when the Predators got good, they raised ticket prices. And I said on the air that because people were hammering them, and I wasn't. And people said, oh, you're being a homer, you're this, you're that. I said, no. I said, I just know it's a business. It's NashvillePredators.com. It's not NashvillePredators.org. It is not a non-profit organization. They're trying to make money. No duh. But then, as a fan, I would say that if you're going to do that, when the team is not winning at the level that you were selling me at, then let's make some changes. And that's where I think I get frustrated. What I do wonder about is what the texter said about, I'm fine with cutting away of Forsberg if he's being unreasonable. What is unreasonable here?
Are you asking what's unreasonable about the situation, or
No.
what would be an unreasonable?
What would be the unreasonable ask? Let's just kick it around the room. What would be unreasonable for you?
10 plus with a no movement clause.
Ian.
10 sounds about right.
Okay. It doesn't sound like he's asking for 10.
No.
All the reports say they're squabbling between 8 and 9 million. And the whole thing is, and I think this is coming straight from Poyle's mouth when it comes out of Elliot Friedman's, which is the idea that they want this deal to land somewhere between Duchesne and Forsberg, or Duchesne and Johansson at 8 and Yossi at 9. Well, if somebody else is going to pay more than 9, and the evolving hockey, the Athletics evolving hockey model, which is apparently why Roman Yossi finished 6th on that one guy's ballot, because that's what the computer said. But if that evolving hockey model says Forsberg's due $9.5 million, you're not going to be able to pay him less than $9 million. Like, I'm sorry. And guess what? If the evolving hockey number says that, which is what they said, and that one goofball is able to justify his vote for the Norris Trophy by saying, well, the computer told me that Yossi was the 6th best defenseman, you don't think one of these 31 other teams is going to say, well, the computer says he's $9.5 million, so let's spend $9.5 million on him because, God forbid, we trust our instincts or watch film or do work. We'll just go off of what the computer said.
See, that's where I get frustrated with analytics. And part of this is I think analytics are there for more of like a predictive model. What's going to happen in the future for sports betting, to figure out who's pitching against who. But to figure out or to use analytics to help you form an opinion, I don't think that's the place for that. And that's exactly how it was used in this situation. I think that's just an abuse of analytics.
Well, that's what the teams do.
Teams do what?
These teams are all about the computer. In sports, I mean,
yes.
These teams love the computer. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are run by a baseball guy because of the computer.
The baseball guy.
I mean, it's all about the computer.
And I think there's a place for it, but sometimes I think you should just use your eyes and your logic.
I mean, the computer has ruined baseball. I mean, it is so unwatchable now. I mean, I was at the Sounds yesterday. I love the Sounds. I was at the Sounds yesterday, and I'm just watching guys strike out, and I'm like, okay, hit the ball? Like, let's put the ball in play.
I don't think the analytics told him to not swing.
No. Analytics have changed baseball. It's all about launch angle now. It's all about strikeout, home run, walk. That's it. And that's a big problem with baseball is that there's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of ground balls, stolen bases, running. That's gone because everybody goes out there with the launch angle trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark because the analytics say that's the way to go. Everybody's trying to strike everybody out on every pitch now because unlike what was popular when I was a kid, which was pitch to contact, keep your pitches down, let your fielders do the work, the spin rate is what people want now. And all those computers we saw yesterday out in the bullpens when the two teams were working and they had cameras and computers and this giant square thing, whatever the hell that was. And it's like, we got to track the spin rate here and we got to do that. And all the sports are doing it.
No, it's not a new thing.
So hockey's no different. So you're going to tell me that there's not one of these 31 teams that's going to look at the same kind of things that the one guy that covered the Blackhawks wrote about with Yossi, and they're going to say to themselves, well, we need a big splash, we need a high-impact guy, and the analytics say he's $9.5 million. And then they'll offer him $9.5 million, and the Predators are like, hey, I know you want $9.5 million, but we're not going to offer you $9.5 million because, God forbid, we pay you more than Yossi. We can't do that. And so, to me, then I ask you this: who's being unreasonable? Is it him being unreasonable if he's asking for $9.35? And someone's willing to offer him $9.5? Is he the one being unreasonable, or are they being the ones unreasonable? If it is, well, we just don't want to pay more than Yossi.
That sounds a little bit more unreasonable.
Okay, I mean, that's the thing about going to the market. Is the market then sets the price. And so when you talk about the texter saying Forsberg being unreasonable, I asked you guys.
I don't
what
think
was
she said that he
unreasonable.
was being unreasonable,
No,
but I think she said if.
If. I don't think he's being unreasonable. For whatever he's asking for, I don't think he's being unreasonable. I think I'm a pretty fair arbiter when it comes to what's fair and what's not fair as far as a deal is concerned between the Predators and Forsberg. I'm a Predators fan. I like Philip, but I really have no bias here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Philip Forsberg's asking for a full no movement clause, I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't think it's unreasonable, no.
Especially after what they did with
But I think there
Arvidsson and Ellis and Subban and Shea Weber and everybody else of, hey, we're selling you on this 8th year. We want you to come here on this 8th year. And if he's willing to give up the 8th year because he doesn't trust them to keep him there without a no movement clause, I don't think it's unreasonable.
And I think that's the thing is if Forsberg wants, 9.5, and I'm saying hypothetically, 9.5, 8 years and a full no movement, there has to be a little bit of give and take here, whether it's the money, whether it's the duration of the contract. If a no movement clause is non-negotiable, that's absolutely positively what he wants and needs, then you have to be able to bend and break on others on length or amount of money.
Well, yeah, especially if somebody else is going to pay more.
Yeah.
If somebody else is going to pay more and you're like, well, we can't pay you more than Yossi.
But only over 7 or fewer years.
Do you think they're going to stick to their guns on they won't pay him more than Yossi?
No.
I don't know how I feel about that. What else we got?
Tom texts in and says, I would not be up for a rebuild. I think making the playoffs, like Poyle says, is the big accomplishment. You get in the playoffs, anything can happen. I know it hasn't happened the past few years, but it did in 17-18.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. First of all, it didn't happen in 18. They lost in the second round of the playoffs. It did in 17. This team, though, doesn't have the elite players that team had. That team, I kept trying to tell people this too. Like, that team had PK Subban in his prime. I'm not even sure if PK is going to play hockey next year. That team had PK Subban and Roman Josi on defense in their primes. That team had Pekka Rinne in his prime. That team had a coach who had already won a Stanley Cup and had been to another cup and was a high-end coach. And this team doesn't have any of that. So you tell me that, hey, you just make the playoffs and you go from there. I mean, there are certain sports where I would agree with you, but if you don't have a roster capable of competing, and that team did, that team the year before went to 7 games in the second round with San Jose, who ended up making it to the Cup final. This team got smoked in 4 games. There's a huge difference between that. The team even the year before that, 6 competitive games with eventual champion Chicago. 6 competitive games. The Predators blew 2 3-goal leads, which I still can't get over. But they blew 2 3-goal leads in that series. And they could have won that series. But that was at least a competitive series with the eventual Cup champions. This was not in a competitive series with the eventual Cup champions, which Colorado is going to be. But, I mean, so to me, the idea of, well, make the playoffs, anything can happen. Not in this sport. You got to have good players. Now, there are a lot of teams that have good players. I think the Eastern Conference is an example of that, where Toronto and Tampa went 7 games, and I think Toronto could be holding their own in this Cup final against Colorado, but they lost in the first round. But not this team. This team's got 1 elite player and probably 1.5 other really good players. So that's not enough to compete. That's just my opinion, though. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And I think I'm the only person, I don't need the computer to tell me this. I've got a college football take that I truly believe that I think everybody else is afraid of. We'll get to that coming up next. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. Step up to the tee and take a swing at betting the PGA Tour on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet the tour with a no-sweat first bet. If you don't win, you'll get up to $1,000 back in free bets. Hard to figure out who to bet on because how many guys are still there, but I would take one of the guys that has been anti-live from the beginning because you know their heart is in it. FanDuel's great because they have great promotions every day. It's a safe and secure app, and you get paid fast. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook app and my official sportsbook app. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Promo code JGM. 21 and older in present Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issue is not withdrawable site credit. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mainly clear and mild as we head through the overnight tonight as temperatures drop to the low to mid 70s. On our way to the low 90s once again for Friday. Look for mainly sunny skies. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Celebrate July 4th with huge deals from Electronic Express. Save big on summer necessities from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
People are driving from all over to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now to take advantage of our very best financing offer. Now extended through July 2nd. 5 years, zero interest financing with zero down. It's a fantastic opportunity, making everything more affordable. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? A $4,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $67 a month. Don't miss this. We will not be extending it again. 5 years, zero interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
The Authentically American 4th of July collection is live and ready to ship. Go to authenticallyamerican.us right now to order yours. Plus, 20% of all purchases from the 4th of July collection will be donated to Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to build and donate specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them and to rebuild their lives. Have a happy and safe 4th of July from Authentically American. Made for you, made in America. Authentically American.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
But overall, 5-7 last year, Pete. And so how quickly can someone like Arch Manning turn things around?
Well, it'll be interesting, Sage. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up redshirting. Remember, Eli Manning redshirted when he went to Ole Miss. Texas has a loaded quarterback room right now when you have Quinn Ewers, who was the #1 quarterback prospect who transferred from Ohio State after last season. They also have Hudson Card and Malik Murphy, who are both high-end quarterbacks. So it will be one of the stiffest competitions. Obviously, you know, the chips are going to fall how they do with those battles. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arch Manning went there. The Mannings aren't going to be in a rush because development doesn't always equate to playing right away. So, again, there's a long way from now until he arrives there, and that quarterback room could end up changing a lot. But his impact on the field may not be day one immediate because of the competition that he's going to face upon arrival there. It is a excellent high-end quarterback room.
Let me say this. That was Pete Thamel on ESPN. The news today. Arch Manning the grandson of Archie, the son of Cooper, the nephew of Peyton and Eli, commits to Texas. And let me just tell you, and this was like apparently one of the very hotly contested, but very low-key recruitments. Arch didn't want any of the pomp and circumstance with any of this.
He didn't have social media until today.
Yeah, he has one tweet.
Because he started his Twitter today and his Instagram today.
And Georgia and Alabama and all these other, they were all holding out to get Arch. And I think, wasn't it between Ole Miss, Texas,
It was between
Georgia,
Texas,
and Alabama?
Georgia, and Alabama were the top three, and then he was loosely considering Florida and LSU.
Okay, so Arch Manning, all these teams wanted him, and he is the chosen one, apparently. And I will say this. Everybody else will be more skeptical because so many times in their lives, they've been told that the Horns are back, and the Horns never are back. I remember when Charlie Strong took that job, I was on the radio in Louisville, and nobody in Louisville could believe the idea of Charlie Strong coaching Texas because we knew he didn't have the personality for it. Texas is a hard job.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't win right away, they fire you. There is no, he has a good personality, let's give him another try. Jeff Fisher would never be the coach of the Texas Longhorns. It just doesn't work that way. Either you win or you go. And some of that is probably why they're in this cycle of this guy doesn't win, move off him. This guy doesn't win, move off him. Tom Herman won a little bit, but he didn't win enough. So he got to go. Sarkisian's in now. They got Arch Manning in the fold. And I think every time that you take a program to prominence, you have to do it with a franchise quarterback. Nick Saban, I think, is the exception to the rule. He did not have a franchise quarterback at LSU when he won the championship with Matt Mock, though he did end up with Jamarcus Russell, who was a quote-unquote franchise quarterback. But he did not have the franchise quarterback when he won with Matt Mock and then all the guys he's won with at Alabama. Now, I still think some of those guys at Alabama were high recruits, but they weren't earth-shattering like Julio Jones was or Dante Hightower was or Marlon Humphrey or Landon Collins or those kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So Saban's different. But everybody else, when Urban Meyer won his championships at Florida, Tim Tebow was the franchise quarterback. When Gene Chizik won a title at Auburn, he did it because of Cam Newton. So when you take a program back to greatness, you got to have that leader. Arch is that guy. So everybody else will be skeptical of this because they've been told for years that Texas is back, and I've never believed it. Joe Tessitore said the opening game a couple of years ago when Charlie Strong was at Texas, they played Notre Dame. In fact, one of the receivers got knocked out. I want to say it was Torrey Hunter's kid. But Torrey Hunter had a kid on that team that played wide receiver. Ken Griffey Jr. had a kid on that team that played wide receiver. And Chris Sanders had a kid on that team that played wide receiver. And I remember watching on TV, and Chris was like there with either Griffey or Torrey Hunter. And I was like, hanging out with Griffey. I wish I was. But anywho, when they won that game, Joe Tessitore and his Joe Tessitore voice, the Horns are back. And I remember thinking, dude, they beat like probably an average Notre Dame team. Back. I've never bought into that with Texas. And I thought going to the SEC was going to be bad for Texas because I think it's going to be harder to win. But you get Arch Manning, the Horns are back. He's a franchise quarterback.
I worry about Arch Manning because the expectations are absolutely positively through the roof. Having the last name Manning automatically puts incredible expectations on your shoulders.
Higher expectation than having the last name Manning and not going to Ole Miss and being the number one recruit in the country and going to Tennessee?
What?
I said higher expectations.
Yes.
Than being the number one recruit in the country, having your last name be Manning.
Yes.
Choosing to not go to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And going to Tennessee.
I mean, those are pretty big expectations as well.
Well,
but Arch Manning is just the next one in line.
Peyton was
coming behind Cooper and his dad.
What about
Arch is coming behind Archie, Cooper, Peyton,
forget about Cooper.
and Eli.
Forget about Cooper. Cooper never did anything. But go back to Eli. Eli, as far as expectations are concerned, had the last name Manning, was the number one recruit in the country.
Went to the same school as his dad.
And went to his dad's school.
And got arrested at his dad's school.
I mean, I'm just telling you.
I'm saying the expectations are going to be high no matter what.
The Mannings know how to handle it. The Mannings know what they're doing.
I'm not saying he can't handle it. But I'm saying everyone is going to be looking to Arch Manning as the answer to all of Texas's prayers.
Just like Peyton was the answer to all of Tennessee's prayers. Just like Eli was the answer to the New York Giants' prayers. Yes, and the Mannings
But what
will
if
deliver.
he's not?
He will.
How do you know?
His last name's Manning, and the Mannings deliver. Did Peyton deliver?
Yeah.
Peyton delivered for everybody. He delivered for Tennessee. He delivered for Indianapolis. He delivered for Denver. Did Eli deliver?
Yeah.
He won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. The Mannings know what they're doing. The Horns are back.
I'm not buying it.
There you go. Chasing Checkers is next. We're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow, too.